Well. Welcome to the first live ever episode of Hands Across the Water. My name is Andy Nichols. I am one of the three co-hosts of this brand new podcast, launching its first live episode tonight. Joining me tonight for our live is Mr. Kyle Hand on the Run. Hello, Kyle. Can't hear you, buddy. And we've got Beatles Tone across the water.
Hi, Andy. Hi, Kyle.
This was not going to be without any technical difficulties, hopefully. We'll figure it out quickly. We actually just talked before we went on the air and heard Kyle. I'd heard everybody fine. We'll give Kyle a minute to sort it out. So
Hello.
There he is.
There you are.
Now you are. Hello, Kyle. Good evening.
Good evening.
What happened?
I was trying to let our Instagram know, and then my AirPods connected to my phone.
Oh, lordy.
We're multitasking producers here.
So this is truly a unique experience for all of us because it's quite late for Mr. Beatles Tone, but he's a trooper anyway with us, staying up past 11 p.m. to do our first live during the week. And those of you that have subbed to our channel in the short life that it's been up, we thank you. We were last at 385 subs. We've done 3 proper episodes already, and the views have been absolutely amazing for such a brand new show. We've got 2 that are over 2,000, and our second one, when we did our Beatles Beginnings, is almost at 1,000. So the support right out of the gate has been absolutely amazing for a new show. So we really thank everybody here. We know that we've got a crossover of Beatles Tone's channel and his great channel and all the great subs that he has and all the subs that we have from Two Legs. So it's and if we're using a television term, we're a spinoff. We're a spinoff, but we're happy to be here. Let's just say hello to everybody in the comments before we get going. And as you know, if you follow us on Discord, this is going to be a little bit of a fun game where we collaboratively rank the Beatles box sets in which we think the best ones are in fun fashion, like we've done with playlists, like we've done with lots of good stuff over the last few months. But we're going to just keep it Beatles-centric this week. We've done a lot of solo stuff to start. We're going to keep it Beatles-centric this week, but we've got a section of the show which we're going to get to once we say hello to everybody in the comments, where we kind of answer your questions from the mailbag, in a mailbag segment, because we asked a couple of you to submit some questions ahead of time. We got an email. We got some great questions to start in the Discord. So before we start the mailbag, let's just say hello to everybody in the comments here. Mr. Martinez, Brad Hill, Duke Viking, a.k.a. David Gargolino, the MVP.
Hi, David. Hi, Heidi.
Yep. Lynn, she missed yesterday's Sunday live. Unexpected interruption. Hopefully won't be tonight. Glad that you're here. Nick Syret, you're alive. You're alive.
He's still alive.
It's a miracle.
Oh, it's a miracle. He made it back to Kansas City and he's still alive. I don't know how you did it. You'll have to tell us. Susan Gagney, a regular on Sunday, is here. Good evening.
Hey, Susan.
Ted is here.
Ted.
Two Legs fan who came to the fest. Oh, we know who that is. She's in the other room too, watching.
She's in bed. Watching.
Oh, I would imagine. So, Neil Murison, that's a new name. Hello from Aberdeen, Scotland.
Hi, Neil.
Hey, Neil.
Hello. So, yeah, we're going to open up our show tonight with a quick mailbag and answer the questions, all 3 of us collectively, that you asked us before we move on to the topic at hand. Kyle?
Yes. Speaking of the mailbag, if you want your questions to be featured in next month's mailbag, because we'll be doing these live streams once a month, 3 pre-recorded shows and 1 live show every month. So reach out to us. Our email address is handsacrossthewaterpod@gmail.com. Let us know. It could be long, it could be short, it could be one word. Ringo ? What'd you say, Tone?
Medium-sized.
Or medium size. We're crazy. Anything's on the table.
We're that out there, but it can even be medium-sized.
Yeah. Anything, as we always say, nothing is off the table here at Hands Across the Water. So yes, as Andy mentioned, we already have some very thought-provoking questions from our community. So Tony, let's start with you. James Martinez has a great question for us. What question would you like to ask any of the 4 Beatles if you had an opportunity?
Oh,
Take us there.
That is really tough. I think if I could ask any of the four Beatles one question, it would be, would you like to come round my house and play? I'll do the drums and you do the rest.
What if the answer is no?
Well, bugger that.
Then you won't be left wondering. You'll at least have some closure.
Yeah.
Wait, which one would you ask if you could only ask one?
Probably John.
Probably John. That'll be Tony and Beatly. Beatly. I was gonna say Beatly John. Beatly John and Beatly Tone on the drums. Wow. Andy, what about you?
Difficult question, isn't it?
I would ask if I could watch a recording session.
Okay, so both you are thinking of this very strategically. I feel like it's something I kind of thought the question was something like, what have I always wanted to know? Like, what can I get them to say off the record? But you're like asking the genie for like 3 more wishes. You're like, what question can I ask that will lead to like further conversation and hangouts?
Mm-hmm. A polarizing question. You're like where you'd kind of get them to admit something off the record.
That's what I was thinking.
I wouldn't have the stones to ask that question.
I want to ask Paul where the original Band on the Run tapes with Henry and Benny.
Yeah, I would be
too. We'd all like to know that.
Yeah, we would be too starstruck to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Besides, we know people that can we know that those tapes exist, and we have a network that can get to them anyway.
I know it's pretty nerve-wracking being stood in front of an actual Beatle to be too cheeky. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Good point. Yeah.
Hypotheticals are great, but Tony's been in the presence of the man. So
have I, in a way.
In a way.
In the freezing cold.
You screamed Yvonne to him, and hopefully he heard it.
He heard it. Just mark my words, when that thing
if
comes
Press
out,
to Play comes out next year, you'll get contacted by MPL.
It'll be 40 years. Yeah, I'll be the first one they interview. Yeah.
What would you ask? You would just ask about the Band on the Run tapes?
Yes, I don't remember. I was just watching some interview randomly that it was like whatever BBC. He talks about his whole career, gives the highlights, and he just told that same story again about how he got robbed and he had everything committed to memory anyway, and it just got my blood boiling. It's like, I love that first version of Wings. You know,
but what if you asked him the question and he just said, "Oh, well, the what happened to the tapes was they got robbed in Nigeria." Then you'd be more frustrated.
He would give me the same answer as any.
He would.
He would.
Yeah. He would give you the same answer.
Right. I really wish that James could have added to his question, and they have to tell the truth.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a little bit of a caveat there.
Right.
They can't lie.
And they can't lie. Okay, so Linda Harris, another friend of ours.
Yep.
If the Beatles stayed together, do you think they would have ever performed a live concert in 1970?
After 1970, she said.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I'll say yes, I think they would have.
Well, what's the time and place?
If they stayed together, I think, and none of the bullshit happened. I think that probably happens because, listen, they were so close. Paul was jonesing to do it. Of course, Michael Lindsay Hogg is asking them to play in amphitheaters and all in the Middle East. I think it would have happened maybe as late as end of 1970, maybe early 71, if things don't go awry.
So you think just Get Back would have kind of continued into something?
I do. It would have, they would have done it. Maybe it would have gone okay. George would have said, okay, I'll do like one show at the Hammersmith Odeon or something. Right.
Well, what's funny about that is like from 66, that's when they stopped touring and they really started to see, the studio as their main instruments. Like they weren't really making music to be played live. But, 66 to 70, that's kind of a long time. Like I can imagine them kind of just getting sick of that being like a phase, like they wouldn't have actually stayed as just studio guys for the next 50 years.
No, because I think that that sort of cliche that, that they were just making records for the studio is only because you know, that they, you know, that they stop touring. But the fact is, and we've seen it with all Paul's stuff that he's done live from that period, from that 66 to 70 period, that all those songs were kind of doable live. You know, it's not that they were too complex or too far out, you know, for them to do live. I mean, some of them might have been, you know, Strawberry Fields might have been a bit difficult to do. Sure. Do live as it was on the record. Same for, say, something like I'm the Walrus. But, you know, we've seen, like, you know, Paul's taken, you know, songs from Abbey Road, from the White Album, from Pepper, from Let It Be, and done them live. So he's done it. And I think that they would have got together. I don't think it would have been quite as soon as Andy thinks. Because I remember at the concert for Kampuchea in 1979, which I went to, it was heavily rumoured that the Beatles were going to appear at that. There was rumours that John was in the UK and all the others were in the UK, and they were going to get up after Wings had done their set. They were going to get up and you know, and play. And when Wings went off at the end of their set and before the encore, Billy Connolly came out. And he had a big bit of paper in his hand, and he said, "Have I got a treat for you?" And like our hearts were like in our mouths. He said, "You are not going to believe who is going to come on the stage." And he read out this, you know, this long list of people, which was basically the Rockestra. So, you know, it was you know, Robert Plant and John Paul Jones,
Townsend.
Townsend and Kenny Jones from the Who, and all the, you know, all these various people. And, you know, you would think that you'd be really happy to see all those really, you know, great rock stars on one stage together, but you couldn't help feeling just a little bit disappointed that it wasn't the Beatles.
Expectations are everything.
Yeah.
Damn.
Okay. I think if John had lived, there might have been a possibility that they might have played Live Aid.
Yeah.
Because they would have only had to play a very short set.
Right.
And Geldof probably would have, you know, been able to persuade.
Oh, I think so, yeah.
You know, if he could persuade the Who to get back together for it, you know, he could have probably had a go at getting the Beatles to do it as well. So you never know.
Totally. So Tony D, another great friend of ours, asks, if you could go back in time and talk to Paul, what advice would you give him in regards to his solo career?
That's another good question.
As if he needs advice from us.
Yeah. He'd be like, what do you know? What do you know? I've been doing this for 30 years.
Right. I wonder if I would try and persuade him to not do Kisses on the Bottom or something like that. What do you think? Yeah,
that would be good advice that he should adhere to. I think I would tell him not to try and make any films about tapes going missing. Or trying to recreate silly love songs in a kind of an 80s-esque format. That would be my advice.
I think another good one is potentially like, please don't worry so much about what the critics say.
Yes.
Because that, on one hand, it really motivates him. But again, with this random BBC interview I was watching from like 2012, he even like shouted out Charles Shaw Murray in like disgust.
Yes, when we talked about that at the fest,
right? Like this, like he was saying, like, if you're in the audience, I hate you. You know, this is like 50 years later. So of course, obviously, I think Paul has peace and love in his heart. Like, he doesn't forget these, you know, reviews.
Yeah, I would tell him to, you know what, trust your gut, because he's done so many albums where he's got a lot of producers on all of them. You know, Flowers in the Dirt has 4 or 5 producers. New has 4 or 5 producers that are on a couple of tracks. Go with your gut, man. You don't need a producer. to you're an amazing songwriter. You can produce on your own. You don't need all these, these fingers on the faders telling you what it should be all the time.
Do we want to clip this and send this to Paul, or clip this and send it to Andrew Watt?
Oh,
I'm excited. I mean, we'll see how that ends up.
Nick says he would advise Paul to skip Freedom. Hello, okay. Richard James, our Bowery friend. Our Bowery friend. Hello. And Joy's here as well. Too. And the MVP says that she still loves Broad Street, Tony. So.
It's okay.
Me too. I got to throw this in the VHS player. I've seen it before, but I haven't used this tape yet. So Ted says, John, what was your biggest problem working with Paul in the later years? That would be interesting to hear.
Oof. That would be the question that you'd ask, would it?
I think that's what he said.
John. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good question. So Susan, our dear friend Susan, asks, if Paul puts out any more archive boxes, fingers crossed he does, to keep the price down, would it be okay with you to have to download songs, parentheses, as on the Flowers in the Dirt archive box, rather than have them on CDs? So Paul's archive camp is saying, listen, super fans, we want to give you everything, but we just can't afford to press it on vinyl and CD. Pay an extra. Yeah, Andy's like, take my money.
Fine.
Yeah.
What do you feel, Tony? Like, would you take it either way, or do you want to have it on physical product?
I didn't mind having the download card for those extra songs on Flowers, because it was such a great box set and there was so much, great stuff included in that anyway. But if it comes down to a choice, then I'd prefer to have it on CD, and I'd be happy to pay the extra.
I think that's mainly Susan's question. Would you want to pay the extra?
Yeah,
I'd pay the extra. What about you, buddy?
I see the point of it. I mean, I don't think that they would really provide us an option of like, and here's the budget box.
No.
But like, if I had to choose, like, I think that when we're talking CD specifically, they're just gonna put it on streaming nowadays, right? Anyway, right?
With notable exceptions like Wings Live Over Europe, which came out in the big barn box. Can't stream that.
Yeah, weird, right?
Can't stream that.
Yeah. Okay. I stand corrected. So yeah, if it's really like you're gonna pay $1,000 for kind of like how the Mind Games box had like every single thing pressed on vinyl, or like you're gonna buy like the 2 LP version and you're gonna get various things on MP3. I would go for the 2 LP.
You'd go for the 2 LP and know that you can get all that extra content on streaming anyway.
Right. Like if I end up paying like $100 for 2 LP, but it comes with the digital stuff, deal.
Well, that's the thing too. Like you don't get the download cards on any of these releases anymore. They don't.
Well, I guess the question is if they bring it back.
Sure.
Yeah, but Tony.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that they didn't pursue the download card thing when they went on to Flaming Pie. They just gave, and that was jam packed with stuff, wasn't it? The Flaming Pie archive, and they just gave you everything on CD. So maybe it was just, I don't know why they did that with Flowers in the Dirt. Maybe it was just to see how it flew. I don't know.
It's just so funny. Like, am I going to go on Discogs and buy a piece of cardboard with a QR code?
to get those tracks? Yeah.
Yeah. But if that's but hey, in this economy, why not? So let's see. So yeah, that empties out our mailbag. Thank you to everybody that offered us some questions.
Yes.
So how about we answer a question from Charlie O'Malley?
Let's do it.
Good evening, gentlemen. I have been really getting into all the recording Macca made between 85 87, including Pepperland. when you take this period alone, there are many greats. What do you think? Do you agree?
So between 85 and 87, so you're talking basically what we listened to when we had the listening party.
Yes.
There aren't many greats. There absolutely aren't many greats. Yvonne's the one.
Yvonne's the one. I love This House.
Loveliest Thing.
Loveliest Thing is amazing. I'm trying to think of.
We really.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Press to Play is covered in that period, and there's a lot of good songs on, a lot of underrated songs on that, and lots of great remixes as well.
Yeah, pretty little lead
from that period. So, I think there's some good stuff from that period, definitely.
Yeah, It's Not True is another one. Well, this is something that I've been thinking about. Like, do you feel like 85 is into 87 is the high point of unreleased material? Like, what period of Paul do you think has the best stuff that's just either never seen the light of day or kind of just gets canned and put on, random CD single B-sides? Like, because if you think the 70s is better than the 80s, sure, that's fine. But I'm talking about like the best unreleased material.
Maybe you have to go back a little bit further than that to say 84 to, maybe there's some stuff from Broad Street that was left off. We don't know.
Oh, that'd be very interesting.
I do think it's probably a rich period, though, of unreleased stuff that just never came out, because most of the 70s stuff that we know of has surfaced on all the archives.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
So the 80s is the rich period that has the most unreleased stuff that we think that we can surmise from what we've had, what we've read, what we've collected, what we've listened to. I think that is definitely the richest period of unreleased stuff for sure. Yeah. And I think it could go beyond. I mean, look at in 2015, we got Pipes of Peace and we heard a track called It's Not On, which we didn't even know about.
Good point.
We didn't even know about it. So yeah, I think the 8, but again, you don't know what the man's sitting on. There could be Lost Wings stuff that we don't even know about.
Right. Maybe that'll be my question to Paul. Can I just like get a cot and put it in your, archive library? Just live there. I'll just.
Nick Syrett has a trivia question for you.
Oh, that's a surprise.
Shocker. Go, Nick.
Go on there, Nick.
And yes, Charlie, agree with you on Once Upon. These are also from that same period. Fantastic. Yeah. In fact, 2 of my favorites. Well, yeah. Mike Waljasper. Hello.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Here we go. All right. Name the 4 McCartney albums that credit Beatles songs to McCartney and Lennon instead of Lennon and McCartney. Wings Over America, Back in the U.S.,
Unplugged.
Let's look.
Tripping?
No.
4 McCartney. It's got to be live albums, isn't it?
Live albums, yes.
Yeah, I said Tripping the Live Fantastic.
Is it Tripping?
I'm just guessing random live albums. I have no idea.
I'm looking.
Good Evening, New York City.
No, it's not Unplugged.
Yeah. Amoeba?
It's not Unplugged. I don't think it's Amoeba. He said it's 4 though.
Oh, could it be Broad Street?
No. Maybe.
I mean, what's even the point? Like, what's the significance of
not Good Evening,
switching the titles around?
Well, Paul did that. No, it's not Broad Street, Lennon and McCartney. It's not Amoeba.
No. I don't know, Nick. Are we stumped, guys?
No, don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. Don't say
Hold
nothing.
your horses.
Don't say nothing.
We'll save the box set tier list for another day. We got.
No, it's not Paul's Live either. I thought it would have been Paul's Live. Damn it, it's not that.
But again, like, why is he doing this? Like, is there more like, does he feel like there's more songwriting ownership in these like re-records?
I think that he just feels that, that there's certain songs that John didn't have any input into. So why does his name come? I mean, it's stupid. It's nonsense.
I'm gonna throw Back in the World out there too, because that's another live album, which has a little bit of a different track listing than Back in the US. but it also says McCartney Lennon. So how about Back in the World for number 3? That's got to count for that. That's got to be the third one. And it's not Good Evening New York City. We're not moving on.
Oh man, you broke Andy, Nick. He said yes to Back in the World.
I knew that would count. What's the fourth one then? Would be Twin for no. There's no Beatles. It's not Good Evening New York City.
It's not New York City. It's not Unplugged. It's not. So we've got Wings Over America.
Yes.
Back in the US.
Back in the world.
It's not. We're pinning our coats on those. Did he say no to tripping? He didn't say no to tripping.
He said no to tripping. He said no to tripping.
Did he?
Yeah. He said no to Unplugged.
McCartney Lennon. Give us a hint, will you?
Paul is live. I think we checked Paul is live.
I checked Paul is live. Who got?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! I hope I have the fourth one right. You don't even know if it's right. Come on. Hint, it's a recent release.
It's a recent release.
No, not Now and Then.
It's
how can it be a recent release?
I'm thinking, how can it be a recent release? Because you said McCartney album, so it's it's not McCartney 3.
It's not underdub
station. It's not new.
Last year.
On
Red and Blue. No, was that even
not the Amoeba gig either?
Oh, not the Monobox. So yeah, we just had a spike in viewers. A bunch of people just joined us as we're here. I guess they love seeing us suffer, bash our heads against the wall to our
No, he says
Dungeon Master.
It's a Paul McCartney album. Nick,
yeah,
I think it's only 3, mate. Too much buying in the UK when you were back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that question you asked me when you were here.
Unless wait a minute.
Tom says one hand clapping.
Let's look because we got some Beatles songs on this. Wait a minute. Watch it be this. Now. Hold on.
Blackbird, maybe.
Hold on.
And the winner is. How does Nick think of these things? Does he sleep, or does he just think of ways to torture us?
It's his job. It's his full-time job.
Trivia?
Yeah.
You actually?
It's one hand clapping.
All right, and the winner is.
It's one hand clapping. Let It Be, Long and Winding Road, Lady Madonna, written by Paul McCartney and John Lennon, published by Sony Music. There you go.
Wow.
And that's as late as 2024. So he went back to putting himself first. All right, Nick, you got us, you old git.
Yep.
You make me crazy with these questions.
And get on you, Tom, for guessing that one.
Yes.
Hunyadi
gets it.
Well done, Tom.
Well done.
Mike's got a question.
We'll mail you a prize, Tom.
All right. Who's got the question, Tony?
Not Mike. Well, Jasper's got a question.
Kyle, you got it?
I got it. Question 1. What are the first 2 songs on the new label by the Beatles? Question 2. What are the last 2 books in the New Testament of the Bible? Okay. So sticking to the Beatles related topics. What are the first 2 songs on the new label by the Beatles? Like, what are the 2 Apple songs?
What, Apple?
Yeah. Hey Jude Revolution.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call.
Thanks for the call.
As for the New Testament, not a clue.
Yeah. Also, another hot take that we got during the pre-shows, another one from our friend James. So he said that John's rhythm guitar parts overall were more important than George's guitar parts. What do you all think?
Yeah, because that's a general thing for a band, because the rhythm guitar, the bass guitar, and the drums are the rhythm section, so you can't do without those. But with a lead guitarist, lead guitarist will step in for a solo, but might not necessarily play during other parts of the song. It's the rhythm guitarist that's playing the chords, that's getting 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 the song moving. So yeah, I would probably agree with that. I wouldn't say that John is a better guitarist than George, but I would say that his parts are, pretty important, very important.
More influential in the whole shape of the song, all in all.
Yeah. And I especially think that's very true of the early Beatles era, where John's rhythm guitar is so prominent in a lot of those songs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Evan Fernandez has a video idea for us. Future video idea, and sorry that it's a bit morbid. Nothing's off the table for Hands Across the Water. Would you consider any posthumous Paul albums as canon to his solo career? And yes, I'll invite myself to be in that video with you three guys. Thank you, Evan. So we're saying that when that day comes, when, Paul has passed, and just like John and George, they'll maybe put together something with his demos or what have you, and they'll call it a Paul McCartney album. But it's, just think of it as Paul's Brainwashed, I think is where Evan is going.
I think so. I think so. I still think Brainwashed and Milk and Honey are part of their canon. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah. Yes.
Totally.
The answer is yes.
3 yeses across the board.
I think the only caveat is we'll have to see how far along in its development is it. Like if Paul has a bunch of like voice memos that he like took in the shower or something, and then Peter Jackson MALs out the shower noise, and then his son adds, and what's his name, Giles Martin had instruments around it. Like that was it, a Paul McCartney album, or
Here we go, Susan. The legal paperwork from 2017 in Paul's court case to regain the rights to his composition also lists the composers as Paul McCartney and John Lennon.
Oh, you missed that one, Nick.
So, and I know that was something that really stuck in Yoko's craw when that happened. So, and especially I remember around back in the US/world time, she was younger and obviously a little more with it. And that was a real big to do about putting McCartney Lennon first. And apparently he did it again with one hand clapping. So
yeah, I mean it's all just vanity stuff.
Semantics at the end of the day.
Yeah. Our friend David Duke Viking had a hot take. Here's a hot take: the Concord Starbucks Hear Music initiative that kicked off the archives are officially dead. Capitol finished up the remaining 4 under their label in 2017, 2018, 2020. 13 got out.
Respectfully disagree. It is not dead.
The archive.
I don't think so either. I'm not sure on what basis you're concluding that it's dead, David, because we've said that there's some archives have come out on Hear Music and some have come out on Capitol. So what makes you think that they're dead? Just the fact that we haven't had one for 5 years, I suppose. But we're all optimistic that it's not the end of the road.
Where you're mistaken, my friend, is that hot takes are not supposed to have basis. It's just, that's kind of the signature of a hot.
Yeah, but you gotta get into the hot takes.
Yeah.
No, otherwise, they just become hot takes for the sake of hot takes, don't they?
I'm with you. But no, I don't think it's dead. I mean, in anticipation of our episode, our topic for our live show today, I've been thumbing through the old Beatles box sets and those archive sets, and it makes me sad that we haven't gotten one in a couple of years. Like when we got Revolver, it was almost something was in the air where it was like, and hot off its tail will be Rubber Soul, and that hope kind of dissipated into just
now and then kind of had a big thing in 2023 that kind of slowed the wheels a little bit of that of that train, which I was happy to take a break for archives. We got Now and Then, and we got expanded Red and Blues, which I was happy about.
I'm with you.
Still haven't forgiven you that you sold yours, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. I'll make up for I especially after today thinking about it, I'm like, I gotta buy those things again.
Yeah, exactly.
We all can have a bad day.
We just assumed that we were gonna get Rubber Soul next, but we didn't really have any basis for that assumption. I don't think. We just thought that because once they went back to Revolver, we just thought Rubber Soul would be next, probably because it's the next best album to Revolver. But the year that Revolver came out, 2022, 2, the next box set should really have been either Please Please Me or With the Beatles, because it had been 60 years since 1963. So it should have been.
But let's not see. COVID threw a big kind of wrench into this whole thing here. Through the whole time,
even anniversaries.
It threw the whole thing off. And I think once that happened, of course, Let It Be comes out in 2021, Revolver, and they go. So it kind of really just threw a whole wrench into the whole thing. So I do think we're all going to get these things eventually. It's just going to take time, and we'll have to see what goes.
Yeah, and we can't say that box sets are like out of the vogue just because like the Beatles haven't done like a proper one in a couple of years and McCartney hasn't done one in a couple of years. Like George and John are still going strong, so there's clearly still a market for them. There's still interest in them, so I'm holding out hope.
Maybe. I mean, and see, with the red and the blue coming out in 2023 and getting those early songs remixed, especially all the nine Rubber Soul tracks, that really leaves the door open for it. So
yeah, that kind of took the edge off of getting Rubber Soul for me.
Agreed.
The fact that we've got over half the album, especially if you include the remixes of Day Tripper and We Can Work It Out, which would almost certainly have been included in a Rubber Soul box set as a single, like they've done on other box sets. There's only about 6 tracks that haven't been remixed. It kind of took the edge off it a bit for me. But the thing that I liked about the Red album is we got to hear what these early songs how good they could sound with a remix using the MAU technology, and gives us a bit of a taster for what hopefully is still to come from this remix program.
Right. Yeah, that's always been the thing. I remember you debating this in your video. Like, is this a taste of what's to come, or is this like, here's all you're getting? Because I could really see it going both ways. Like, if they've already remastered or remixed like most of the album, then it's like, why you give the whole thing out again?
Although we know that what we've heard from people is that, listen, there's things in the pipeline that Apple knows what they're doing. Although Tony made a great video saying, do they know what they're doing?
Favorite video ever.
Do they actually know what they're doing? And on the evidence presented, they didn't really. but you never know. You never know. They should, like, if they've got a roadmap, then they're keeping it, well under their jacket or under their hat or whatever.
Right.
They're not letting us know.
Here's a hot take. This gentleman here says, I would say Paul McCartney's career was dead on arrival after McCartney 2.
Well, that's a load of bollocks. Next.
Yeah. Yep.
So what was I gonna say? Well, the other thing, again, kind of speaking of all these box sets and everything, is with the change of leadership at Apple with Jeff Jones.
Yeah.
Because I was thumbing through these archive box sets, and he's listed as like the executive producer of these box sets. And not only, of course, did he bring the Beatles onto iTunes and into the digital age, but I get the impression that he really had oversight over all of these projects. So will this be a priority to the next person? Will they see it as like a lost leader, but extremely important to the Beatles' legacy? Or will he see it as, or she or whoever see it as, that's a big waste of money. We don't need to do that, So I mean, and Jeff Jones, he still hasn't been replaced, right? I didn't miss anything.
There's an interim guy there right now.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. While we're here in a quiet moment, the little subscribe message at the bottom below us. If there's anyone on here that hasn't subscribed to Hands Across the Water, please do. Please do. We'd love to have you along for the ride.
Yes, please do. So we got some great programming coming up for the next month, but for now, so how about you'd say it's about time to start our topic for the live?
Let's rank the box sets, baby.
Let's do it. So I'm sure you all are familiar with this tier list format here. So this is going to be tough because we're going to be ranking the recent box sets But the difficulty is we love all of them. Is that fair to say, boys?
Fair to say. Zoom in on that, please, there for me, Mr. Hand on the Run.
Yes, sir.
Just to get a look at, there they are. These are the ones we came up with. Now, there's lots of Beatles box sets. Okay, we felt that these were the ones that represented the best of the best. We don't own all these. Not one of us own all of these, right, Tony?
Sorry, what was that? No, sorry, what did you say?
You don't, like, there's not one of us that actually own every one of these sets, right?
No, I don't own the Capitol albums or the BC13 or the EP or singles boxes, but I've got all the others.
Right. And I have everything except the BC13. And as of today, I have now from Liverpool, thanks to Beatles. So, and Kyle, as a younger fan, the youngest guy in our multi-generational show, he has, I think, just the recent Super Deluxe sets, right?
Yep, just the recent. Well, actually, not even all of them, because just for various reasons, the price hasn't been right for the Abbey Road one for me. I really like that one. It was super influential to me as a fan. That was like mainly confined to streaming in 2019 when it came out. Same with like the complete White Album one, with like, you know, all the CDs with all of the like actual outtakes and everything, not just the Easter demos. And I don't have the Sgt. Pepper one either. I mean, like I said, when I was really getting into the Beatles as a fan, those were a godsend. To not just listen to Sgt. Pepper and not just fall in love with Strawberry Fields, but hear like 4 takes of it. Like, how lucky am I that I didn't have to wait 50 years for that to be available?
And we've talked about that when we've done our shows. We've talked about that. You just got it and said, okay, I'm going to listen to 60 odd tracks from a Beatles Super Deluxe that just came out on my phone. Like, right.
How lucky am I? Yeah, and I do that with a lot of artists too. That it's like you know, today, this is the era of depth, right? Like, you know, you can also get into a wide range of musicians, but if you want depth, if you want all the outtakes, it's there for you. So the only ones I have, physically on vinyl are the White Album with Easter demos, the Super Deluxe, Revolver, and the Let It Be. I don't have any of the other ones, but boy, I still have opinions about them.
We're going to get to all of them, sure. So, you know, box sets you know, they were pretty rare to get them. I mean, the BC13 was considered like the gold standard. You look on eBay now and Discogs, that fetches for lots of money, doesn't it, Tony?
Yeah, I think that was like the first Beatles box set. Sort of came out in the late 70s, and it was a UK box set, so it had all the UK albums in it before Magical Mystery Tour was considered to be core canon. And it had the unique selling point for it was it had an album called Rarities, UK Rarities, and that was the unique selling point.
But it wasn't so rare, was it?
It wasn't. It didn't really have anything that hadn't been released. But it was kind of the rarities, the UK rarities, and I know you had a US rarities as well, which was a much better.
That was more. That was much more of a rarities album than that one.
The rarities album in the BC13 was really an early prototype for past masters. It had B-sides that weren't on albums, like, you know, I'll Get You, or Yes It Is, or She's a Woman, and those sort of songs. So they hadn't been out on albums in the UK. So that was how they made up that album. And then people bought the box set to get this Rarities album, and then the following year they put out the Rarities album as a standalone album. So I've got all the albums that were in the box, but I just don't have the box.
Right.
And that's, I think, what we are missing in this day and age. I'll stand on my soapbox and, you know, fight against our not modern times. These boxes are class. Are you kidding me? Like that leather blue with the signature. That's something I can imagine you putting that on your fireplace mantle or something cool like that.
Yes.
I mean, these, like, the modern day ones just look like cheap coffee table books or something, which, you know, I appreciate it, you know, especially I like the Revolver one a lot. It's nice. I think from Liverpool, no offense, Andy, I think that one's a little bit kitschy. But
it is. But I just love the fact that you had two of these that before John Lennon was even gone, they were already issuing box sets of Beatles material, which I think is pretty fascinating when you think about it. By that time, you've got BC the 13, and then this From Liverpool, which is basically an expanded Red and Blue album that's just basically putting together album tracks in an 8-box set, and then the art of the box set, I think, really then starts to happen in the mid 80s. You've got Bob Dylan's Biograph, and then the art of the box set really takes off then. In 1990, John Lennon's got a box set, and everywhere you looked, there was these long boxes that were coming out all over the place. And, when were the Beatles going to get these box sets? And we didn't really have any of them when you think about it, other than those early ones that are on vinyl. True box sets, career-spanning box sets and deep stuff. We didn't have any of that stuff for decades.
Tony, can you remember the first one you bought?
The first box set, out of these,
which one? Yeah,
out of these ones here, it would have been the 2009 remasters.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought the stereo one first, and then I didn't think I needed the mono one, and then about a year later, I thought actually I do need.
You better grab that thing.
So so I got that, and then when it came out on vinyl in 2014, I don't know why I did it, because I wasn't buying vinyl in 2014, but when that box set came out in 2014, something just went in my head, said that looks really nice, I want it, and I got it, for about 300 quid or whatever it was when it came out, and it's like ridiculous money now, about £2,000 people want for second-hand ones of that. So I'm really, so I would say the first one would be the 2009 remasters in stereo. This one.
There it is.
There you go.
That one.
Well, if I can ask you again, one of my hot takes is that I am very disapproving of compilations. Don't give us what we already have. Just give me something new and exciting. So can you please give me the perspective of somebody that sees this come out and is like, oh, finally, like, I don't need to just listen to my awesome original Abbey Road. Like, I have like this new remastered vinyl. Like, to me, people pay top dollar for like a decent condition first pressing. Like, what made these so special?
You mean this?
Yeah, but also when the vinyl came out.
Well, you had, so when they first came out on CD in 87 and 88, it was the first time the Beatles were on CD, and that, of course, was exciting. But they weren't really made, there was not, Tony, maybe you can speak to more of this because you're a little older than me. They were just kind of just direct transfers. There was nothing really cleaned up about them. They were just put on CD, right? And we liked it at the time because that was the technology, but the sound quality of them really left something to be desired, right?
Yeah, I think they were pretty much transfers, apart from Help and Rubber Soul. I think George Martin was not happy with how the original stereo mixes are transferred to CD. He didn't like them, so he did some remixing work on those. And if you remember, in the mono CD box, the Help and Rubber Soul LPs or CDs, should I say, in that box have got the original stereo mixes of Help and Rubber Soul sort of tagged on to the end of the album, which I always thought was a bit weird, including stereo mixes on a mono box set. But that's what they decided to do. But it's interesting, what's interesting is the fact that Apple haven't moved on at all, because we're saying about that they've kind of come to a halt in the remix program of the UK albums, and it was the same back in it took them till 1987 to get the Beatles on CD. everyone else, all other major artists, all their back catalogues were coming out on CD much sooner than that. 1984, 1985. All the major artists like Bowie and people like
all out on CD, right?
All on CD, and we had to wait until 1987 before we got the Beatles on CD.
And when they first came out on CD, they only came out in groups of 4. The first 4 albums, the first 4 albums were on CD. Then you had to wait 6 months, and then the next 4 got out, and then so on and so. It didn't happen. Oh, Beatles are on CD. Here you go. You had to wait.
No,
you had Please Please Me with the Beatles, A Hard Day's Night, and Beatles for Sale. Okay, then you had to wait 6 months, and so Tony's right with that. It was like, what were they? Why were they waiting to get on? Plus, they remember Apple Computer. There was a lot of that. The lawsuits were going on here too now at the same time too.
Yeah.
So.
I guess just going back to my question, what I'm trying to understand is like, Tony, when you're in your living room or whatever you call it in the UK, your
living room would do, yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Your lounge, I don't know.
Or lounge.
Front parlor.
If you're posh, you call it the drawing room.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay, of course. So, Tony, when you're in your drawing room, are you reaching for like your original pressing of Abbey Road, or are you reaching for the one that's in the stereo?
No. Well, you've picked a funny one, because normally I would say no. I would always go for the remix as my go-to,
True.
but I don't think the Abbey Road remix is as good as the other remixes that have been done. I really like my original Abbey Road. It still sounds really great.
Yeah, that first.
I mean, it's not a first pressing. It's not a first pressing, because I didn't get it till 76, so it's probably
right. Eric, how do you improve such a sonically great record to begin with anyway? Whether it's the first pressing, whether the first time it was on CD, like the first time you got Abbey Road in the 80s. To me, I don't hear a big difference between the 87 Abbey Road and the one that's in the stereo box set. I mean, there was that, and then, or even on the remix that we got in 2019. I mean, there's some differences.
There are some differences.
But
I think the differences were much more noticeable on all the other box sets that have been part of that series, I think.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'll let it go. I think I was just kind of wondering, like, when this came out, like, how excited were people to listen to it? Like, was it replacing all of their old ones? Because I'm just saying, to me, if they did like a whole new thing of the stereo, box set, unless they had a fancy box like the ones on the bottom, BC13, I would be like, I'm happy with my originals. I mean, I could see them doing this after they've remixed a bunch of them. Be like, now we're going to put just those remix albums in a fancy box.
Yeah, but I think the thing about the remixes and why they're important is not so much from Sgt. Pepper to Let It Be, but starting with Revolver, the remixes of those using the MAL technology enabled them to get rid of that dreadful stereo panning that you've got on the original stereo albums, where you've got voices in one speaker and instruments in another. So. But by the time we got to Revolver and they were using the MAL technology, the vocals and the drums were coming out of the middle, and then you would have things going on, in the in your two speakers. It doesn't really affect Pepper to Let It Be as much, but from Revolver going back to Please Please Me, it's important, and that's why it's important for them to finish this series and give us decent stereo versions of these albums that we love so much, because we shouldn't have to listen to mono albums in 2025, but the mono albums sound better than those stereo albums with the panning
separation of the back and forth stuff.
But I don't think a mono Revolver sounds better than a remixed Revolver.
Agreed.
Stereo. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
Well, I actually just re-listened to the mono Revolver today. So, but we'll get that. Well, actually, should we start there? You want to rank the Revolver Super Deluxe first?
Let's do it.
Okay. Yeah. So another weird hot take of mine, which I agree is not based in fact and for no good reason, rather than just for the sake of a hot take, is I've kind of been against the whole mono thing because I'm like, everybody listens to music with two speakers anyway. Like, what's the point? But I don't know. I threw on the Revolver mono and I really got an appreciation for it. Tony?
I mean, when you listen to a mono record on a stereo hi-fi,
right,
you just get the same thing coming out of both speakers. So it's not really true mono, but it's kind of.
And I think most
fake
pure
stereo,
euphonic stereo. No, I think Kyle, a lot of Beatles fans gravitate to those because these are the albums the Beatles oversaw themselves, right? And they did not even give a rat's ass about the stereo stuff. The mono records are the ones that they oversaw, which for most fans are they're going to go, okay, that's the one that has the Beatles stamp of approval on it. I'm good with that, and that is what carries most fans.
And it's the one that they're imagining playing out of people's little transistor radios too. Like when he's making Tomorrow Never Knows, he's not making it for my hi-fi setup. He's making it for the person listening to it.
You remember that little quote from George in the anthology? I think he's talking about like listening to it. Why would you take a sound and then cheapen it and put it into two speakers? It sounds like it's a bit weaker. It sounds better and fuller to have it come through one. You remember that quote, Tony?
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's just me. I mean, I'll try and ask some of my friends what they think about mono because it's not really something that's in the conversation for me. Like growing up, like when I'm like 13 getting into music, I'm not thinking about mono versus stereo. But speaking of that, I think what I didn't really appreciate about mono is it's not like everything is just like flat laying on top of each other.
No,
there's still a stereo image. There's still left, right, up and down, front, back. There's like still a 3D soundscape, but just coming from one speaker.
Correct. Yeah.
So what do you think about their move with the Revolver box set to give you a second LP of just the mono mixes?
Yeah, I think that's a good move. I think that was a good move because so many people missed out on the mono box. When it came out in 2014, I think that's a good way for people to get a brand new copy of the mono
in the box
albums.
set.
But even the other boxes. So if you go back to the other box sets, it only really applies to Pepper and the White Album because Abbey Road and Let It Be weren't released in mono. But in the box sets for Pepper and the White Album, they gave you the mono album on CD.
Yes,
they did. So they've been consistent with giving monos with this box set. It just so happened that for Pepper and the White Album, it was just CD.
On CD with the White Album on this, you had it was on the Blu-ray. You had the mono.
That's right. It was on Blu-ray.
It was on a Blu-ray. It wasn't a dedicated disc. It was on a Blu-ray. Which is a whole separate other conversation, which a lot of people think, oh, where are the Blu-rays? But we'll get to that. We'll get to that later.
So another thing I love about the Revolver that dictates its ranking for me is I think the outtakes are particularly good. I think that they made a great move with trying, I think, at least compared to the recent ones like Let It Be and Abbey Road, they did some more instrumental kind of developing takes. But most of all, the one that really just, when I think of Revolver box set, I think of John's original demo of Yellow Submarine. That was one that kind of like we were talking about before with the just things that there's things out there that we just don't even know exist. We didn't know about this.
That was a revelation. To be fair, we
never knew about any of that stuff. And here's just a little noodle of John doing Yellow Submarine, and they included it. That's what we're talking about.
So
top tier.
S tier?
I think so. For the Revolver.
Yeah. I think they really ended on a good one. I mean, not ended. Hopefully it's continuing, but at least the last one in the series, they worked out all the kinks, and the super deluxe of Revolver.
That's a top tier one.
It's funny. People got really funny about the fact that they did, because for the first time with Revolver, they didn't include a Blu-ray. and people.
Oh yeah.
And people kind of lost their shit about it.
They did, and then let's also not forget they're going to throw in a bonus EP of like 4 tracks.
Yeah.
That's a little cheap.
The EP was a little bit questionable.
They did on Let It Be anyway, so we knew it was kind of coming. It just on Let It Be, it was a 12-inch single, and on Revolver it was a 7-inch single.
Right.
But people were, I can remember when it was announced on my channel, people saying, well, that's a deal breaker for me. If there's no Blu-ray, I'm not buying it. And these are people that are, probably my age or around my age, who have been buying records for like 40 years or whatever without a Blu-ray, right?
Yeah.
Right. And all of a sudden, the Blu-ray is more important than the actual album.
Yeah.
Right.
And that seems to have gone away. Let's just get some comments here, just because we got some good comments coming in here.
Yeah.
Eric Schultz said, I agree. Abbey Road sounded great in 1969. It was their best produced album, in my opinion.
Yeah, great.
You can agree. Eric also says, if I remember right, sometimes they would split the melody and harmony vocals between the left and right channels. Yes. Todd says, I was always a stereo person, but I've grown to appreciate the mono mixes later in life. Agreed.
Okay.
Grew up that way too.
Yeah.
I really like hearing those extra demos and early takes of Revolver songs. George first played Love You Too on acoustic guitar, then used the sitar. Indeed.
Yeah.
I wish they included a version of I'm Only Sleeping with the backwards guitars going through the whole song, which I heard at the Love pre-show. Thanks, Todd. Thanks for being here today.
Nick says,
yeah, go ahead, Tony.
I predict Sgt. Pepper will win this, or it should. Why? The final piano chord.
It's interesting. So you see, Kyle, because of his age, he doesn't have the same experience that you or I have with getting this. To him, it's just it's a little bit. Oh, it doesn't mean as much to him because he's got it at his fingertips at a young age.
Yeah.
So, but obviously he still appreciates all of it.
Yeah.
Clearly.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. But I think that, what is that expression that I hate? Good things come to those who wait.
Yeah.
Well, I think that if you've loved these records for decades and then you get these, I can see that meaning a lot to you. It's kind of gives into the whole instant gratification obsession of my generation.
It does. Quick question with the tiering. If theoretically, do we have to have different rules? Like, if we agreed on putting stuff in top tier, can we all put them in top tier, or do we have to universally agree? Or what do you think?
I think we'll talk it out.
I
think we'll talk it out. Might get a little bit emotional, but
it might.
We have to wait 50 years. I have to wait 50 years for Pepper. I think there's.
Yeah. I think we're gonna have a hard time putting anything. I think we're gonna have a hard time putting anything in the bottom tiers. I don't think that's gonna happen.
We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
So let's kind of jump around here to keep it interesting. So we'll go from the second row, last row, and then go back up.
Sure. Randomize it, buddy. Go for it.
All right. Cool. Red and blue. I love it. I would never give it away. I would never sell it at Record Runner in the West Village. I even called him ahead of time. I was like, "Do you even want this? Like, will you even buy this from me?"
Well, all right. Before we rank it, why did you sell it? What was your rationale for buying that set and then going, "I don't want this anymore"?
Which one did you have? Did you have the LP or the CD?
I had the LP. I had the
box.
I had the box that's pictured here.
All right. So what on red and blue vinyl or on black vinyl?
I think I had it.
You don't know, do you? Because you never played it.
I think I had it on red and blue vinyl. I went all in. I was excited. I was really excited. I just was not playing it. I think that the early Beatles stuff really comes and goes for me. I think I was really excited for like the whole revelation of like these remixes and everything, but I wasn't really into it. I wasn't playing it. Something about compilations. I've told you this guy.
Yeah, it's not your thing.
Yeah,
it's just seeing something different to everybody.
Yeah. And also I liked the Atmos mixes. I listened to those on my headphones on digital. But also, I mean, this is just a general critique. I can't tell you, this is not like why I sold it necessarily, but the fact that they missed out on putting the anthology tracks on them too, I think that would have been a cool touch.
Well, that was weird, and we think we know why.
Why now?
We know why now because they're coming out this year.
Not that we know anything. We're just,
No, we're just speculating.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to be an anchor on this, but I would, to be honest, I would rank this a C tier, but I want to know what you guys think.
Well, I think it's got its merits. I mean, I've got a bit of a soft spot for the Red and the Blue album because they were the albums that that introduced me to the Beatles, and that is what compilation albums are generally about. They're about the gateway to a band, and these ones have got some merits, particularly the Red album because the remixes on it. The Blue, there was probably only about 5 songs that were remixed newly for this. All the rest of them came out from the box sets that have already been remixed. So most of the songs were from.
And let's not forget, it brought us Walrus Gate, which for the record, I still love that.
I loved Walrus Gate.
I love it. I love that version of I Am the Walrus.
So do I. And I loved talking about it with people, with my viewers as well, because really, everyone really objected to that kind of radio play at the end of the song.
Yep.
And it's it comes right at the end of the song, when they're doing the umpa stick up your jumper bit, which is not even the Beatles anyway singing that, and it covered over that. But the merits of the remix, John sounded brilliant on that song all of a sudden, instead of like he was singing at the bottom of a mine shaft or something like that.
As soon as it starts with the sitting in an English garden bit,
because they got rid of that terrible edit that was on the stereo version. They completely smoothed it over.
Yes,
and it sounded so much better. So Walrus Gate was fun, and it was fun. People were losing their shit about it, but it was fun. But I think that it had more good points than the radio play, which I didn't even really care about anyway.
No,
you've still got the old ending on. That hasn't gone away on. On Magical Mystery
Tour. Father, rest you. You got it. Go listen to it.
Yeah. Well, this is the first. Other than Revolver, this is the first big release after the Mal technology. Is that true, or did Revolver?
Revolver used Mal, yeah.
Revolver had it, and then obviously Now and Then was like the big use case for it. Yeah. Okay, I need to be a little bit more fair here. I'd like to try my best to judge this for what it was, which was a great box set release of these tracks remixed for the first time. I just am more so brought down by what it could have been, right?
Yes, you're right. So its failings were the fact that Real Love and Free as a Bird weren't included. Remix of those, that was one of its failings.
And having differing track orders between the LP and the CD.
Yeah, no, I
pick one.
Like that.
Come on,
that was not good. The LP just gave you the extra tracks on a third album by themselves, right. And on the CDs they were sequenced the right way.
Yes,
no good, no bueno with that.
And the other thing was, another failing of it was the fact that they still called it 1967 to 1970 when it's got a 2023 track on it. They should have just rebranded them as the Red Album and the Blue Album, because that's what everyone calls them anyway. But I would. It's got its good points. It's got its bad points. I think its good points probably outweigh its bad points. And I would probably agree with your tier ranking, Kyle.
What are you saying, Kyle? B? Tier B?
As a B.
Oh, I kind of just put it there. I didn't know where to put it while we were waiting. But B feels right.
I feel okay with it being in the tier B.
Okay.
Tony, in agreement.
We're all in. Everyone in the comments, you okay with
how do we feel down here?
Being in B.
I mean, for what it's worth, if I'm going to listen to the Red and Blue, I'm putting that on now. I'm not going to put my old copies on anymore.
Yeah, no,
totally fair.
Definitely putting the new one on, not going back to the old ones now. But yeah.
Oh, Susan doesn't like Walrus Gate. All right. We've got two ranked.
So next we have the Beatles EP collection, which friend of the show, Andrew from Parlogram, calls some of the best mixes of these tracks.
Yes.
I could really see this being one that they redo in, the next couple of years. I think that the EPs are so fun. I think the covers are so cool. Like, for somebody that's generally against compilations, this feels like a much more creative, interesting new way to kind of repurpose these songs, a lot of which weren't on actual Beatles albums, if I'm not mistaken.
And let's just, if I may show this one off. This is a personal favorite of mine. I love this one. You've got all the artwork represented here and all the EPs on CD for the first time on CD. And from a lot of Beatle fans that I've spoken to, and I've listened to it, and I had it for decades, and I re-listened to it. It's great because EPs were not really a big thing here in America. They're not.
Yeah.
They're in the 60s. They were not big at all. It was a UK thing. So it was a different way to look at cover art, experience these things a little bit differently. Yes, I mean, have them all, but only with 4 tracks on all of them. You get Magical Mystery Tour in a big double whopper just like that. But for what a lot of people like about this, there's Yesterday. There's that one. I think this one is the Million Sellers. Really unique titles. One of my favorite covers here, Nowhere Man. I mean, for the EP.
How cool.
But the crown jewel in a lot of this, and in this set, for a lot of people, is this one right here. And why? Because you get the Baby You're a Rich Man, which ended up being on that German Magical Mystery Tour. Tony, I know you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I have that one.
Yeah. So, and that's on CD for the first time.
Yeah. So what's on that? So that looks like Strawberry Fields to me.
It's a Strawberry Fields cover, but it's the last one in there. So you've got The Inner Light, Baby You're a Rich Man, She's a Woman, and This Boy. Now I'll just read you the what it says. For The Inner Light, this is originally issued as the B-side of Lady Madonna. However, this is the first time the track has been released in stereo. Okay. Baby You're a Rich Man, released in mono in 1967 as the B-side of All You Need Is Love. This stereo version has only appeared on the UK cassette of Magical Mystery Tour and the German issue of the Magical Mystery Tour album. Now you've got it on CD for the first time. She's a Woman, stereo B track issued as the B-side of I Feel Fine in 1964. It is only available in stereo on an Australian album and was recently included in the box set compilation, The Beatles Box, which we talked about earlier, issued by World Records. And then This Boy, although never before issued in stereo in the UK, it has appeared on releases in Canada and Australia. It was originally the B-side of I Want to Hold Your Hand in 1963. So you're getting for the first time these things on stereo on CD. So they're historical.
So when they brought out the EP collection on vinyl, did that include that extra EP as well?
This one too, I don't know, because this is the bonus one, and I don't know. I don't know. Maybe.
I've sort of been looking because I love the EPs, and I've got a few of them, but I haven't got the box set, and I'm kind of looking. I've been looking for quite some time, to see a decent price for the EP box.
What are they going for?
About £250. So
Yikes.
what's that? About $280, something like that.
Yeah, I probably got this more than 10 years ago for like $100.
Yeah,
on Amazon too.
You bought it at the right time when it came out. So
watch that video from Andrew from Parlogram, because I mean, obviously he has all the breakdowns of everything, why they sound the best and everything.
Yeah.
And once I watched that, I hadn't touched this in a long time, and I'm like, damn, this is really good. So this has risen up. This has gained a lot of stock for me in the last year or two.
Yeah, and Andy, I'll give you $100 just for the box, man. I can't get over how cool these are.
Well, you said earlier, like you like the classy style look of them.
It's so classy. Is that just me?
No,
right? These are nice. I mean, compared to anyway, not going to bring anything.
So I mean, but I don't know. Wait, because it's only the EPs, right? So I'm being fair. Does it belong at the way top for me? Maybe, but I don't know. That we have to see. We have to agree on it.
The trouble. So if we look at the EPs, is there a bad song on any of the EPs?
No.
So
they're like super singles.
It's the Beatles. It's a fantastic.
Well, I mean, you got Magical Mystery Tour, so you've got Flying on there. So
I quite like.
I don't know. It's so funny. I really feel like if they gave this EP collection like the Red Album treatment, like, hey, these might not get box sets of their own, but we're gonna remix them with Mal. I really think that this could be way up there. But when did this come out originally again?
1992.
92. Because that's the thing. I can't really bring it down for not having like modern mixes or anything, because it's like it's from 92. It's almost more impressive that they put this out because at the time it was released.
Yep. She's a Woman has the count in on the beginning of that EP. These are the things that we talked about. And when I watched Tony's video today on the From Liverpool thing, when you collect these box sets or EP collections, these are the things that have these little nuances that we always got to gravitate towards and go get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know where we got. I mean, I don't think
I'm thinking A.
I was thinking A as well.
I'm fine with A.
I don't think we can put it as high as an album.
No, it's a compilation, so it can't be up there. Which Nick Cyrette said earlier, you can't.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, count on me to bring this up when we say our wish list for 2026, or at the end of every year.
Sure.
Okay.
Hello, Christian. Hello, Christian's here watching.
Hey, Christian. So back up to Sgt. Pepper.
Should we do a few comments before we go on to the next?
Sure.
One?
Yeah. Sure thing.
People are chatting to us.
Yeah. Want me to handle that, Kyle?
Please do.
Okay. Nick Cyrette says a compilation album should never be ranked as an original studio album. Well, that's what we just said. Absolutely.
Agreed with you.
Susan agrees with Nick on the Sgt. Pepper Deluxe. It's been her favorite since it came out in '67, and the box set, lenticle cover and all, made it even better. Her album comes close. Charlie was mildly disappointed with Revolver. 2 little extras. Abbey Road didn't need a mix. Giles shown in the White Album mix. The best set is on the White Album. The most noticeable is Pepper.
Interesting. Yeah.
Bit Song 100 says no Blu-ray disc was a no-go for me buying Revolver. So I bought an empty box on eBay and did quite well, putting my own compilation together, including a Blu-ray of the surround videos, if I say so myself. Very cool.
Well done.
Cool.
Susan has and loves the EP collection on CD too. Like Andy, I never had the actual EPs because you couldn't, if you had to get them in America, you've had to get them as an import or have a British relative.
Yeah. Okay.
Todd says She Loves You sounds great on the EP collection, which was also used on the 93 Red Album release. Correct.
Interesting.
Yep. Susan says, and I'm the Walrus has the longer intro in the EP set too. So these little nuances. That's what make these things so unique. So we're all caught up.
Cool.
Okay, right. What's next?
Sgt. Pepper is next. This one is definitely going to be tough to beat.
Just put it up on the top now. Just don't even bother.
And then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, just throw it up there. Come on.
Who are we kidding?
Still a whopper, man.
You gotta love that 3D.
Wow.
Which is like that poster on my wall. And someone said, why is your Sgt. Pepper poster blurred out? And I said, it's not blurred out. It's just it's 3D. The poster's 3D. So when it comes over on camera, it looks as if it's blurred, quite blurry.
Satanic Majesty's request what? You got nothing on this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this one is special for so many reasons. Like, this one just kind of started off all of the Beatles box sets. I mean, McCartney, he started his archive series in 2010, but they could not touch what Sgt. Pepper was in, what was it, 2018?
2017.
2017.
I mean, when this came out and you heard the bass and the drums and the guitar on opening of Sgt. Pepper, you were like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Remember, Tony?
Absolutely. It was a real shame, though, that they hadn't at this stage when Pepper came out in 2017. They hadn't really, got on board with the whole people want vinyl now as well. So you never got that box set on vinyl. You got. No. I think you've got the remixed album on vinyl, and I think one LP of outtakes came out, which is a bit of a shame. Yeah. Whereas Revolver had an LP and a CD version exactly the same, but Pepper had the book in it, which was fantastic as well. Was it 4 CDs and a couple of Blu-rays?
4 CDs, a Blu-ray, and a DVD.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually why I don't own it on physical media, because, I'm going through the different box sets. What do I want to buy? And I'm on Discogs and no vinyl. And, for me, that kind of got into vinyl in the last, 5 or 6 years. It's like, yeah, then this one's not really for me. I don't want it on CD. I'll just stream it if I'm going to have it on
it's
CD.
like what Tony said. You're right. Like, you would want the whole enchilada on vinyl. And this is at the beginning of that era where they missed the boat on that. In fact, when we were in Rough Trade the other day, you saw a copy of Pepper, and it was just the remix. It wasn't even it didn't even have the second LP of the bonus stuff.
Yeah. So I wonder, again, this is making me think of all sorts of predictions. I better start writing these down. 2027, not too far from now, will they do kind of a 60th anniversary release of Sgt. Pepper, but actually on vinyl this time? Like, if you give us this with the outtakes and everything all on vinyl, people will run to get it.
Yeah, I don't think they will, but it'd be good if they did.
Yeah,
they may not. I mean,
but I don't want them to. I don't want to distract them.
No.
Getting on with the remixes of the other albums.
Very good point.
Yeah, I mean,
so before we move on, anything you want to call out in terms of special outtake to you, or are you guys more the remix was the revelation here?
I think the remix is always the revelation. The remix I will go back to time and time again. The outtakes not so much, but it is this Pepper box is a thing of beauty. Now the question now is the Pepper box better than the Revolver box? Because if it is, it needs to go in front of Pepper.
Yes, I say yes.
You think it's better than Revolver?
Yeah,
I do.
I think
because
so.
Because it was the first one that brought this new, this modern mix to it with this incredible sound, and this paved the way for all the other box sets.
Yeah, and I'd love to know. I'd love to know what Apple's thinking was when Pepper came out in 2017. Whether it was because it was the one they started with, which is not a logical place to start, but it was the 50th anniversary. And I wonder if they thought, right, we're going to put this box out for Sgt. Pepper's 50th, and with no other thought of, going through the entire catalogue and doing the same thing for each album.
Right.
I just wondered if they thought that in 2017 and then saw how well, Pepper did as far as sales went and thought, right, well, we better do the White Album.
Yeah, totally. This was their guinea pig, and they knocked it out of the park.
It did. It really did.
Okay, so if you want to put it ahead of Revolver, my only argument the other way was that, yes, Pepper kicked it off, but Revolver was learning from all those box sets that preceded it.
What to fair? Yeah. Because then you had a vinyl included with it too. I know what you're saying now.
Right.
I honestly don't mind either way. I don't care. They're both in the same tier.
And just out of interest, as far as the album goes, guys, which is the better album, Pepper or Revolver?
Another 6-hour podcast, Tone. Let's do it.
Oh,
I listened to them both recently, actually, and I feel like if Revolver, I feel like there are better songs on it.
Yeah.
This is kind of like what we were talking about with like Imagine versus Ram on our last episode.
Yep.
I think that song for song, it's better, but it just kind of feels like this like loose jukebox of great hits. Whereas I'm a sucker for a cohesive concept album. And I think that Sgt. Pepper is that, to a T.
Yeah. So it's one of those things I think like we did say on the other show that we did, that with Pepper, the sum is greater than its individual parts.
Right.
Whereas I think on Revolver, the individual parts are probably better than the whole album. I don't know, but if you take the songs out of their natural habitat on Pepper and you listen to a song like, I don't know, Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, it doesn't have the same impact as if you're listening to the whole of side one of Pepper and that's the last track. If it's just in the middle of a playlist, it doesn't have the same impact. So I think Pepper is probably a more rounded album. Whether it's got better songs on it wholesale than Revolver, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, what would really put the nail in the coffin for me, and this is complete fantasy, but if you put A Day in the Life to end Revolver, I mean, I know Tomorrow Never Knows is a great way to end Revolver. It makes sense, but I feel like that's kind of what I think of when I think of Sgt. Pepper. The beginning with, Sgt. Pepper, and then the ending with A Day in the Life.
Concept album.
Right.
Some greater, the sum is greater than the whole, and I think we all agree on that.
Yeah. So I think we agree that there's nuances here, that they're going for different things.
It's not as easy as you think.
No, it's not, and it's a toss of the coin. I know Pepper's number one. Charlie O'Malley. Pepper.
Well, we'll see about that.
Pepper leaves you breathless. Yeah.
So what did Charlie say up above?
Pepper is better than the Revolver box set. Both CD extras are windows into magic. Yeah, they are.
Well said.
They are.
Yeah.
And he said something else a little bit earlier. I'd like to remind everyone that the person who wrote Helter Skelter also wrote Mull of Kintyre and the Liverpool Oratorio and Coming Up and She's Leaving Home. And oh, darling, he is extraordinary. Well, he is, yes.
Yes, he is.
Yes. Okay, I do have the keys to the car here, so I will concede and put what's it? Beatles. I was just Sgt. Pepper. I was reading like in the with the flowers Beatles, and I was like Beatly Tone.
Anyway. I'm not surprised that those two ended up into that tier. So what's next?
Yes. What's next? We're talking the Capitol albums box sets.
Ooh.
Right. Okay.
All right. Now,
so I'm not going to have much input on these because I don't have these. The only thing I know about these is that they didn't complete them, did they?
They did not.
Wasn't there supposed to be a volume 3 that never came out?
Now, this for the American first generation fan was a godsend. Susan Gagney, back me up, please. I know you hopefully agree. These were the first time you had the Capitol albums issued on CD with their faithful, crappy 1960s Dave Dexter drenched in echo reverb. For the purist, they're going to go absolutely not. For a first generation American fan to have them on CD, big win. It's going to be a very polarizing opinion. Will it be top tier? No, it won't be top tier. But the fact that they got issued on CD in 2004, which was volume 1, and 2006 for volume 2, and endorsed by Apple. This was one of Neil Aspinall's final projects, I think, before he passed away. So the fact that these came out. Now, notice not on this list is that dreadful 2014 U.S. albums box set, which took the 2009, which you see to the right on Kyle's screen there, and put those 2009 mixes on U.S. configurated albums with better artwork and better sleeves and inner sleeves. But it was done so wrongly. But these sets here that came out, I mean, were absolutely, and you had stereo and mono mixes here on both of these, for both of them. Please, Please Me, I'm sorry, Meet the Beatles, second album, Something New, and Beatles 65 on the first one. Early Beatles, Beatles 6, The American Help, and The American Rubber Soul on CD for the first time. And do you know how important The American Rubber Soul is to a lot of people to have it on CD? Pretty important. And having those unique American mixes, because I kind of am the same age because I learned these on vinyl first, but then I started buying CDs and I learned the Parlophone versions. So I kind of have both running orders in my head based on the American albums and also what came out properly and what the Beatles officially endorsed.
So, Andy, is that right there the significance of it, that, up until the CD era, they were kind of both thought of as legitimate releases, that you had Parlophone and you had Capitol, depends what you grew up with. But as soon as the Beatles released it on CD and took the path of Parlophone, it suddenly became like an official thing of like, these are the official Beatles albums.
Right.
When it came out on streaming, the same thing. And so this was kind of the first vindication of those Capitol albums.
100%.
Interesting.
100%. The fact that they came out on CD, it was like, yes, the Beatles are finally recognizing that these American albums, which fans have been shitting on for decades, the Beatles are realizing that these are important to fans, and we're going to put them out.
Yeah.
So the ones that are missing from that box set are the US Revolver and Yesterday and Today.
Yes.
Is that it? Just those two?
Yeah, the U.S. Revolver, which is ridiculous. It's not even, that's a really bastardized version. And Yesterday and Today, and then Hey Jude, if you wanted to include Hey Jude.
But Hey Jude was on Apple, wasn't it? So
right,
probably wouldn't have been. You would have thought they could have put those two albums in the volume 2, and then to complete the thing.
Right, but, just to complete the package. And I think a lot of fans really clamored for. They really wanted Yesterday and Today, and that's the one that they didn't get. With these. So I'm very curious where this would have to rank, probably mid or even lower, but I know for a certain fan base it does hold a lot of value and a lot of worthy repeated listenings, because if this is what you were exposed to, you want to hear that echoey drenched She's a Woman compared to the mono She's a Woman that you hear in the UK, which is a totally different listening experience. It's totally different. And I know you've heard it, Tony, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. What's anybody in the comments? Susan's got it. Susan has the Capitol album sets. She had the mono LPs, but it was wonderful to get these on CD. I have the bricks and the long boxes, right? These are the long box version, but it also came out in brick form too. So,
and also, so I think that this one also can kind of include tacitly the American albums box set from last year. Right. Yeah. Just kind of just in terms of like this block represents, vindicating or putting these things in, honoring is what I really want to say. Honoring like the Capitol releases.
Yeah.
And that it took me a while to come around to that. It took hours and hours of listening to podcasts of me just saying, no, waste of a Christmas. Why is it this the release this year? To finally understand, like, so many Beatles fans that bred generations of Beatles fans listened to these albums first. And I didn't buy it, but I can appreciate it now.
No, it's the absolute truth.
Yeah.
Charlie, as an English fan, I have this instinctual reflex when it comes to these wrong Capitol records. I understand their importance to Americans, but it's a sore point. It makes me laugh. But as a Brit, you've got your Parlophone albums. You don't even need them. I really wish that the industry was a different place in the 1960s, and what the Beatles said would have been issued to the whole world. And I think everybody would have loved all the material just the same.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the albums that came out last year, the 1964. Albums. I bought them because I'd never owned those albums, and I really enjoyed them. I really liked them. It was interesting hearing the songs in different orders and hearing sort of standalone singles on albums and stuff like that. So I've got no beef with the Capitol albums. I thought they were what they released last year was great. I didn't buy the box set, but because I didn't want of the Beatles story.
No.
But I just
didn't want the Beatles story.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I already had it, Carl. I bought it.
Oh, right.
One of the early albums that that I bought when I first became a fan. I saw it in the shop and thought, oh, this looks interesting. How wrong was I?
Man, now it's your dinner plate. Yeah.
Mike Cerisi, thank you. I'm in the studio today.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you once again for doing this. Thank you for being here, man.
Cheers, Mike.
So, what do you think? So, it's a tough call because this is what we love about the band and what makes this exercise so difficult. That even for something that for me is like this will be the last thing I buy, I can appreciate how important it is. And I loved hearing you talk about it, Andy. So where does that leave it on the tier list?
Well, I'm also practical too, because what else is coming down the pike? I would be okay with a tier B with it.
I think C. Tony?
I'm not going to comment on this because I don't own them. And
I don't own it either.
They're the American albums. So I'm happy for you guys to have the call on this, Bill. So,
let's poll the audience.
Audience, tell us. Well, okay, again, like, it's just tough because when we think of things in S tier, like, these are like the remixes, outtakes that we love. When this thing was released, though, that concept didn't exist, right? So you can't really blame it for something that it wasn't even on the table, right? So
no,
I don't mean to, bring it down, but just practically speaking, from today's standpoint, they're just not as strong of a box set. I'm not going to give it a D because I think I appreciate its historical significance. But
Charlie says C.
C for Charlie.
We knew Nick was gonna. Nick wouldn't even put it on this list.
Nick
no, that's a smiley face.
C.
Hold on.
Yeah, he's smiling. That's a smiling emoji.
Face, right, Nick?
Nick's saying D, even though he's ordered it as item number 113.
Of course he has. One of my volume 2s is the corrected CD versions. Yeah, there was some issues with these two. There was some mistakes with some of the versions that were on there.
Right. Let's stick it in C then.
I'm fine with that in the context of what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Keep it off the list.
No, it ain't going off the list. Not if I'm a co-host of this show.
I love it.
Right.
Okay, got it.
Gray it out.
Graying it out. Okay. So now here's the famous BC13 limited edition.
Don't we all wish we had this thing, Tony?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm not I'm not searching for it or trying to get it. As I was saying to Carl before we started, if you look on eBay, you'll find a few of them, but all the boxes are all battered. All the corners have collapsed, and they're held together with sellotape and that sort of thing. I've got all the contents that's in this because all the UK albums were the ones that I first bought when I was a fan, first became a fan, and then the Rarities album that was also included, I bought when it came out as a standalone album. So I'm not desperate to own one of these.
No, although I do see like what Kyle's saying, like the classy style of the signatures and the Beatles, which they continued on the EP collection, like they had that. And if you have the CD singles, which I don't think any of us have here, it's not in this list, also continue that same style of like lines, plain black box, like that thing. So you're not too keen to grab this then, Tony?
No, I'm not bothered.
Well, how about this? Really quick. You guys talk Price is Right rules. Let's say Price
is Right. Come on down.
Come on down. So we're going to say, I'm going to find on Discogs a near mint, and if it's probably not near mint, but so like the highest rated quality one I can find for both. Okay, and let us know in the comments what you think it's going to go for. Okay,
go ahead. If he finds the right one at the right price, I might just click and get it now. No, I would not. Susan does not have the BC13, nor is she looking for it. She's got the UK and US rarity. Exactly. Nick Syret says 500. Too low. Too low. I'll say 850. Nick does not. Well, this is early. He did not order it, but he's going to get. You don't have this. The EPs. Tisk.
Part-time fan.
Yeah. Todd got his BC13 for $300.
Good work.
In what decade?
Good work.
Wow. Susan was replying to the Capitol albums of B or C.
So Nick's guess at $500. That's not enough, right? Is that what you're saying, Carl?
We don't know because he's searching it up right now.
Oh, right.
So I found one from Italy for $540, and it says sleeve condition is mint, and media condition is near mint. It says vinyls maybe never played. Like maybe they've
never been played.
Perhaps never been played. Sorry.
$540.
$540.
Yeah.
$540 is that?
Well, nobody else chimed in. I said 850, and Nick said 500, so he was closest.
This one came from Italy, 1979. Interesting. Andy, I don't know. I'll email you the link.
Right. So where are we going to rank it then?
Oh, anyway, back to business here. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, see, this was the first box set of all Beatle albums being issued in one box. What does that mean? 50 some odd years later, close to 50. I don't,
Yeah. So remember that the records inside there are still the 1970s stereo pressings with the panning, with the voices on one side, the instruments on the other. So it's not the greatest thing in the world. I'm sure back in 1978 or 79 when it came out, it was highly regarded and a sought after item for fans. But in 2025, where do we rank it?
I mean, I heard that, but didn't. I mean, I remember a Parlogram video where he's saying that this is like some of the best mixes ever. I mean, maybe that's subjective,
but it's the same mixes though, isn't it? It wasn't remixed,
or maybe it wasn't like. Sorry, maybe not mix. I mean, like source material or something like that. Quality wise, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about a Parlogram video I watched 3 years ago to base my ranking off of this. But yeah, I take what you mean. I mean, it's the typical balance of what does it mean to us today and what did it mean when it came out?
Yeah.
The fact I
think it meant more when it came out than it does today.
Agreed.
Right.
Yeah. So do we have our first lowest ranking now?
You think it's a D?
No, I wouldn't. No. Nothing in here is a D.
Well, what do you mean lowest ranking then?
I think it's got to be.
I spoke out of turn.
I think it's got to be maybe a B or C. Maybe
I would be fine with a C.
Yeah, because you're vengeful about the Capitol albums.
Now, is it better? Now we've got to if we're saying C, we've got to say, is it better than the Capitol box or not? So bear in mind, this is the entire UK catalogue plus a rarities album in the box, and that's the Capitol box is a couple of albums short. So me personally, I would say that the BC13 is higher ranking than the Capitol albums, but I don't know what you guys
I would even put it like the end of B.
So then you got to decide whether it's better than the red and the blue.
And I think it's worse than the red and the blue.
Yeah, it's got to be better than the red and the blue because it's the original albums, isn't it? It's all the albums.
You're saying it's better?
I think it's got to be. It's got 12 LPs in it or 13 LPs.
Yeah, that is. There is. You got to give a nod to some history here. I know what you're saying.
It's not a math contest. We're not going for like the highest number of songs.
Enough, Kansas City. Enough.
Andy, focus up over here, man.
Oh no, he's got me all fired up now.
He's got you right where you want.
I say it was a lovely day in Kansas City today because I was flicking around the TV and I came across they were showing some women's football, Kansas City versus FC Bay or Bay FC or someone. And it's a beautiful day in Kansas City today.
Yeah,
I agree with Susan. Just saying.
It's a C, but it's not better than the Capitol albums. We're really getting
it must be.
We're really getting a Revolutionary War here.
It's got every track.
It's got every Beatles song. What? All right,
yeah. Tony. Why is that important that it has every track? So does Spotify.
How can it not be better than the Capitol albums boxes that have got things missing?
I'll give you that it's better than the Capitol albums. I'm
not protesting that.
I'll cede that, but I don't know.
Well, I think the only reason I think Red and Blue would be above it is because of the remixes. That these are like really revelatory stuff.
Correct.
You were just talking about the panning. Not an issue here.
No, it's not an issue there. But
oh, and by the way, it has Now and Then on it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. Well,
yes.
Tony,
BC13 has got the whole of Abbey Road on it and the whole of the White Album. The Blue Album's only got
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, Mark has a comment here. You forgot the Beatles mono red box collection from 1982. Tony, are you hip to that?
No, I'm not. I've just got the 2014 mono remasters.
We didn't include every single Beatles box set.
No, we couldn't. Otherwise we'll be here all night.
Yeah, thank you for the note, Mark.
But thank you. Todd says the only neglect in the BC13 is that there's no Magical Mystery Tour.
No, there isn't, because it wasn't considered.
So it doesn't have everything then, does it, Tony?
No, it doesn't have everything. Damn.
Yeah, I think I know I've said this a ton of times, but I think the presentation is much better than this, whatever the hell this is. But I mean, I think for history's sake, like, this is the box set that started all box sets. I mean, unless you count the original Red and Blue, it's not really a box set, but I would put it above Red and Blue if we had to, but not just because it has more songs.
Well, listen, From Liverpool had more songs on it than the Red and Blue.
Yeah, does.
Yeah.
Just saying.
124.
Yeah.
Oh boy, what are we doing? I don't know. Okay, Andy, what's your temperature here?
My temperature is to leave it where it is.
I just put it here. This was not intentional.
Was it?
But I mean, I moved it from here to here. I didn't start moving stuff around.
Well, are we looking at it with 2025 eyes on it, or are we looking at it as more of a historic thing?
I think the history informs it.
Tony,
but
what do you think?
Tony,
sorry, what was that?
What do you think about weighing the history versus present day value?
Well, I think that present day value
does that hold more weight to you?
Reflects the history. Not
like
always.
75-25 maybe.
Not always, but I think that is a bit of a historical box set because it was the first one.
All right, hot take. Put it in A because it was a box set that had every Beatles song on it and it had every album. Put it in A. Done.
You guys are so weird. Why is that so important?
Because context.
Yeah,
context.
It's context and content as well. I mean, hang on though. A box full of the Beatles albums has got to be ranked higher than a box full of the Beatles EPs, surely. No.
Well, I just think that like people have the Beatles albums. Like the EPs were like more rare and interesting to put in like one collection.
They don't have them in box sets yet in this ranking.
I mean, but look at
like lost it now. It's a
it's all gone. It's all gone to pot.
And the stream. Okay, this is my personal bias. I'm 1/4 of the voting base here because it's the three of us and the audience, right? The reason that we are ranking Sgt. Pepper and Revolver in S tier is because of the new revelatory things that come out, whether it's the remix or the outtakes. But just putting all the albums in a box set, that's not that interesting. I don't know. Like maybe it was in 1979, and I think that's why it shouldn't be in the bottom. But what are we getting out of this? We have the albums. People probably have the like.
Hi, Russ. Thanks for dropping in.
Tony's like, move on.
So he's saying, as a non-Beatles fan, how can a box set that contains their entire back catalogue from OG stampers not be top rated? The problem with it is because it's the 1970s mix with the panning and all that sort of stuff. That's the sticking point for me. But I still I still think it's probably.
Here we go, my girl up north there in Maine. Then what about the historical importance of the Capitol albums to the American fans? They're unique. I love you.
Oh man, yes.
See, you're arguing the same point that Susan's making.
I don't know. I'm happy with where it is. I mean, if you want to put it above Red and Blue, I can live with it.
I don't care, to be honest.
No, Tony's done now.
Yeah.
No, come on, Tony. Come on. Be a good sport.
Come on. Move on.
Oh.
That's right, Heidi. You've got to disagree with these guys sometimes. You can't let them have their own way all the time.
Tony, for the sake of the show.
For the sake of the show.
And because you're the man.
Yeah.
I'm willing to put BC13 in tier A.
I agree it should be in tier A. Because,
all right.
And it should be ahead of the EPs, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Better box set. It's a better box set, isn't it?
Yes.
Right. Sorted.
And then great, it's sorted. I have to find the Spotify logo to put it above.
No, but bullshit to that. Bullshit to that. You can't put the Spotify slant on these box sets, kid. I love you, but you can't.
Because we love having all the songs in one place. So, I'll just I'll put Internet Explorer on there. Yeah. Okay, so next up we have the White Album box set with just the vinyl, had the Easter demos, CD copy, had all of the outtakes. Andy.
Six CDs and a Blu-ray.
Oh, this was it, baby.
Okay, so let's talk about the White Album and then we'll be able to end the show. Because this is clearly the number one.
Yep.
It's clearly number one.
This is numero uno. Tony, you agree, yeah?
I do.
This is it, baby. This is the whole enchilada. Now, the only thing I wish they messed up with the vinyl, Kyle mentioned it. You didn't get, you got the remix and you got the Easter demos, but you didn't get the other 3 discs of sessions on vinyl. You had 4 discs, 4, 5, and 6 had all the sessions, and they did not get on vinyl. That Apple dropped the ball with. But as a package and a Blu-ray, so on the Blu-ray, you've got a stereo, you got a high definition, you got a 5.1. You get on the Blu-ray, you get PCM stereo, whatever the hell that means, and I'm not a Blu-ray guy. DTS high def master audio 5.1, Dolby True high def 5.1. David, if you're watching, I know you're like, this is your whole thing. And the mono on the Blu-ray. But to me, the gem of this set, when it came out in the fall of 2018, along with Egypt Station and Imagine, so and the Big Barn box, this is all that's 2018.
Yeah.
The outtakes were awesome.
Yeah. And how many of them? So you've got 27 tracks on the Isha demos. You've got 12 tracks on the first session disc, 16 tracks on the second one, and 22 on the third one. That is a lot of outtakes, and the other box sets can't match up to that.
Not even Pepper couldn't.
No, they can't match up to that. And fantastic book. And of course, it is the best album that the Beatles ever made. Of course. So,
and not for nothing, for all the teasing about, or not always teasing, but just the discussions about me being Gen Z, whatever the fuck I am. Sorry, we don't curse on this show. But it's past midnight in the UK, so it's okay to curse.
It is nearly 1 o'clock in the UK. But anyway,
right. So anyway, this box set single-handedly got me into the Beatles. We talked about my, origin story of how it was she came through the bathroom window that I heard first.
Yep.
But soon after that, I was all in because it was probably like right after this came out. What is it, like November 2018 or
Correct.
Something? I was obsessed with this box set.
Did you get it? Did you get it physical right away, or did you had that you were streaming?
I didn't even have a record player
or anything. So you didn't. You were just.
I streamed it. No, because that's the thing. It's like because we were saying before. It's like, oh, I didn't have to wait 50 years for Pepper to come out and hear those things.
And all the extra outtakes were on streaming.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, no. Like, what I'm trying to say here is like, I mean, I think this was just more so like my personal taste, but I probably in these early days had listened to the Esher demos more than the White Album. Like that's how into like to hear this band that, you know, I know is like so celebrated and so important, to hear just them as like a fly on the wall, like that was just the coolest thing. So yeah, I mean, I'm biased, but I think this is easily top tier.
Let's take a moment to highlight some comments.
Let's discuss.
Todd says that the Easter demos on the White Album set, like you just said, Kyle.
Yeah.
Charlie says the best set is the White Album, a treasure trove.
Mm-hmm.
Susan doesn't agree. Ahead of Pepper. Heresy to us first generation fans.
Good God, yes, it's better than Pepper.
This is unrelated to this, but it was a comment from before. He bought his Mo-Fi new upon release for $300 and sold at his Lansing record show years later for only $500 in a crunch. So that was the Mobile Fidelity set, which we haven't touched upon those.
Oh wow.
Nick Cyrett can live with the White Album being number one.
If he's happy, we're happy.
Todd made Todd appreciate the White Album more when this box set came out.
Yeah.
And the MVP says, Kyle, we love your fresh perspective, not to mention your love, passion, and honest thoughts and opinions never change.
That is very kind. Thank you, Heidi.
I just remember, I mean, the Beatles channel was playing these tracks, and the one bonus track that still is the gem to me that comes out to this is that long take of Revolution when Paul starts going into Love Me Do. And they're just, and it's Revolution 1, and they're jamming through it for like 10 minutes. And all of a sudden you hear him going, love, love me do. And I was like, what is this?
Right.
I was like, my jaw dropped. I think I played this every day for like a month when it came out.
Yeah. It was a busy period at the end of 2018, wasn't it? With Imagine in October, and then this in November, and then the Big Barn Box in December.
Not to mention Egypt Station in September.
Yeah.
What
number is your White Album, Andy?
This here one,
is
number 00500943. So 5,000.
59.
Yeah, 50943.
All right, mine's 39483.
No, you live in the UK.
Closer to the Beatles. Moving right along here. So we are headed next. We combined the stereo and mono box sets into one ranking.
Oh, now we're in trouble.
Okay, can somebody set the stage for me here in terms of the historical importance of these? I'm going to repeat all the same points I made about the BC-13.
Yeah.
Tony, go.
Yeah, so 2009, all released on the 9th of the 9th, 09. So 9th of September 2009. These two, the stereo and the mono on CD were released. So you've got every album. They were remastered, and they sounded better than the original CDs that came out in '87 for sure. And it was really exciting. I couldnn wait to get my hands on. I kept waiting for the postman to arrive. Kept going to the front door just to see if he was coming down the street. Couldn't wait to get my hands on it. Really excited. As I say, I'd ordered the stereo. I hadn't ordered the mono, but I got the mono box later. But this, it was all about the stereo. And these are great. They were great on CD, and I've got them both on vinyl as well.
Yeah, it was great, Tony. You were so spot on with your set. How exciting it was on the 9th of September, 909. Beatles Rock Band also came out in the same day, which I got.
You're right. Yeah.
Oh wow!
So you had Beatles Rock Band that came out, the stereo and monos. It was like Beatles. It wasn't anthology fever again, but it was pretty damn close. The albums were coming out again. They got a brand new makeover. CDs were still pretty relevant. Streaming was still kind of new. And you had a nice lavish box set with brand new colorful digipacks, not those crappy plastic jewel cases that break and chip. And now for the first time, you've got really nice, reproduced stereo digipacks with new pictures, with new liner notes, and a video documentary at the end of each disc. So this was a big deal and an upgrade from those 87 CDs. Which
go ahead,
Tony.
a great box as well with a magnetic clip on it.
Yeah, the presentation is great.
The presentation is great. But yeah, so like you say, Andy, all the albums plus a DVD, for each album. Brilliant.
It was
historical context wise, we're saying that 79 BC13 comes out, 87 the CDs slowly start to come out, and then it's not until 20 years later in 2009 where it's like the first major re-release of the albums proper.
An upgrade and
this is the first upgrade,
digital upgrade. So and then the mono CDs, the mono on CD for the first time too. Let's not forget how important this was.
So in 87 it was just stereo.
Tony has to correct me on that one, I think.
What's that?
When they came out on CD originally, they were only stereo.
In 1987, the first four were all mono. So Please Me with the Beatles, Hard Day's Night, and Beatles for Sale all came out in mono. And then when it got to Help, they were all in stereo from there on.
So now you also had on CD for the first time the entire mono collection.
Yeah,
and
interesting.
The first time, and then you had mono masters included in here, which gave you things like Hey Bulldog in mono, Hey Jude in mono, Lady Madonna in mono, paperback songs that you probably know more in stereo. It's All Too Much, You Know My Name, Look Up the Number in mono. Big deal, this release. I think it's more important that it was the mono. I think stands the test of time better than the stereo now.
Yeah, I think so. And it's all done really, really well. With the way that they packaged them up. They replicated the sleeves even with the fold backs,
flip backs.
On the back there, like the original mono albums had in the 60s. So a lot of attention to detail. We should also say that with the stereo, the digipacks, they expanded so they were all like trifold, weren't they? All the CDs in there, they were all trifold and with an expanded booklet. So a lot of attention to detail from these
and with the white album too, reproduced with flip backs and a top loader. Okay, and if you had reproduced a top loader white album, Kyle. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but in the UK, if you had the white album, double album, you don't open the album from the side. Here it's from the top, and that's how it was.
Wow.
So it's known as a top loader. So that was reproduced painstakingly, perfectly on the mono. Beautifully done.
So I'm getting some appreciation here because Andy, like when you and I go to Rough Trade and we, flip through the Beatles section and it's all just regular computerized recent releases, I roll my eyes and I'm like, okay, like where are like the original beat up albums? That's what I want. But in 2009, that was before all of these started coming out. So having a new clean pressing was actually like a positive thing.
100%.
Really
100%. And I know we grouped the stereo and mono box, but I would put the mono above the stereo easily. I don't know how Tony feels.
I think there's a slight conflict in my mind between mono music on CD. I just think that mono music is something of that belongs to vinyl. So I would probably still. I think the mono LPs are brilliant, are brilliant, but I still prefer the stereo, even with their failings of the panning, which still carried over into these remasters. They weren't remixed, these, they were just remastered. So that although they sounded better, the sound improvement was marginal, I think. But I don't know, because for me, I'd never had the monos before I got the CD mono box set. I'd never had the mono album, so I was kind of hearing these mono mixes for the first time when I got the CD
and
box set.
And you got so lucky and you got the mono box set on vinyl, which
I know it was such a fluke because I weren't even buying vinyl at that time, and I just I just saw it and just thought that looks beautiful. I've got to have it.
Let's catch up on some comments here and take a minute here. Susan says, I can live with all our host choices. Everyone's entitled to what they like. She's replying to Nick. Okay.
Very reasonable.
Nick thinks now we're going to push BC 13 down now because we're getting into heavy hitter territory. Todd used to have the mono set for a while, but sold it when he moved. I still have the CDs though. Sorry, you had to sell that. Damn.
Yeah.
Susan, these sets are also available on vinyl, which makes the BC 13 virtually obsolete. Yeah. Thank you, Nick Syrett. Even though you don't like the Capitol albums, this is a fun show. Thanks so much again. We love you, and we love you anyhow. Todd says they also have the original stereo mixes of Help and Rubber Soul on the mono CD set too. Tony had said that was included on the other one, but
we talked about that a little bit earlier, Todd.
Yeah. So,
where do we put this?
Where do we put this?
I mean, this is every album, but God, I don't know.
I kind of see Susan's point of like this being a big deal that this was the BC 13 box set of the 2000s.
I agree that these are better than the BC 13, definitely. So
you want to just stick it right here?
I'm happy with it in A.
Yeah.
All right. All right. How about we keep it moving here?
Keeping it moving. So next we are talking From Liverpool. Okay. Another cool compilation, 1980.
Yeah.
Tony did a great video on it, which I watched today, 2 years ago. 8 LPs compilation, which means Kyle's not going to like it.
Yeah, skip.
I think
it's a cool box, though.
I think it's a cool box. I love the selection of the tracks. I liked it so much that I ordered it today. So, but I do think it does fall along the lines of some of the what we're talking about earlier with the other box sets. It doesn't, its value in 2025, I don't think is what it was in 1979.
No, I agree. So, this has got 124 tracks on it. So it hasn't got, it's not everything. So it can't match up to, the remasters or even the BC 13, really, because it hasn't got everything on it. But it has got some, it's got some interesting curios, like, some of the tracks are from different mixes to what we were used to in the UK, because this thing only came out in a few countries, the UK, Australia, Mexico, and Japan, I think, maybe.
Yeah, not available in America.
Yeah, it didn't come out in the US. So, most of the mixes were UK mixes, but occasionally they would throw in the odd German mix, and so it had value because it had these, a few mixes in it. But
some value, but diminishing returns now.
Yeah. So,
well, Andy, what made you want to buy it?
Because I don't have it.
Okay. Reason number 2.
I don't have it. And Tony's video that he made 2 years ago was really detailed and descriptive about the mixes. He also mentioned that the gentleman who cut the records for this box set was the same guy that cut the Beatles records, and that was Harry Moss. And I felt for that reason alone, it's got some authentic value to it to get it. And Beatles box sets from back in the day are so rare that they weren't done. So I thought, you know what? I've known about this box set. It's very affordable. It's not, it doesn't cost hundreds of dollars. So I figured, let me get it. And the fact that it wasn't available in America and it happens to be called From Liverpool. So
yeah, which is special to you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just really, it's generally fairly cheap, around 50 to 70 pounds, which I guess is about, what is that? About 70 to 90 $8
Yeah,
like that. Yeah,
which is about what I had to pay for it today.
yeah. So for that amount of music, it's 8 LPs. That amount of music, it's a bargain. It's a bargain box set.
The best I
so
ever
this is
had.
the most overlooked box set on this list.
Yes, I think so. But I think
so. Then where does that leave it on the tier list?
Right, let's stick it on the tier list. I think this goes behind. It goes behind BC 13 rather, definitely. I think it probably goes in.
Is it better or worse than Red and Blue?
I think Red and Blue are better for a modern text, for a modern slant.
Yeah, maybe we've got Red and Blue in the wrong tier. Maybe it should be A. I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter too much.
I'm fine with it there.
Okay.
Next.
Well, the question is, Sorry, you want to go to the next one, Andy?
No, go ahead. You had a point.
Oh, Red and Blue. We think it's not as good as the EP collection.
Well, it's got more music on it.
Well, I don't know if we want to start revising things 210 into the broadcast.
No,
let's just keep it as it is.
Let's just keep it rolling.
Keep it rolling.
We've got 3 more to go.
Do the singles one next. This is interesting.
Okay, singles is next.
2019.
2019.
And it was just all the singles with all the picture sleeves from all over the world. That was reproduced. Kind of came out. I think it came out after Abbey Road, Tony.
I think so. Yeah, it came out around Christmas time, didn't it? Just before Christmas 2019.
Yeah.
Just before the whole world went mad.
Yeah. Yeah. And this was nice because you got all these Beatles singles on 45s, all in this nice box from all different countries. So it's a nice package, and it's got Free as a Bird and Real Love as one single at the end. You can almost think they might redo it and put Now and Then in here. It's a nice presentation, all the singles, but it's only just the singles and some great sleeve designs. I mean, look, here's I don't know if this is a German one of Help. But look at this. Look at Help. This is pretty cool, right?
Yeah,
wow, that's really cool.
Yeah,
right?
That is very German.
I think that this is more of a nice visual piece to look at it than sound quality. I don't know, Tony, how you feel?
Well, I haven't got it, so
you don't have this?
I don't have it. No, I don't have this one either. Although I'd quite like to get it, but I don't.
I do like for Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane, they used the right cover. They used this, which was cool. But I think this is more of a nostalgia piece. It's not complete. You've got some nice picture sleeve covers from all over the world.
How do they sound?
Fantastic.
Okay.
When you say it's not complete, what's missing?
I
suppose if it's from all over the world, then there's
right.
So it hasn't got things like the Long and Winding Road single in it, has it?
No. There's like Let It Be. But here's a cool one right here. This is a gatefold one from Japan that's got Lady Madonna. It's a gatefold. Look at this.
Okay.
It's Lady Madonna, and it's a gatefold. Interesting.
A gatefold single.
A gatefold single. Yeah, Lady Madonna in the Inner Light. So it's more of a visually interesting thing. The sound, they all play great. I've played them once or twice through. Customized labels. I do remember this coming out and grabbing it at the time. But I don't know if it has any good. It doesn't have good staying power in terms of because it's the singles collection. It's not, I mean, it's not what the EP was either.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to sit somewhere around where the EP set.
I mean, I've listened to thousands of hours of Beatles podcasts of Andy talking and various shows. I never hear this thing mentioned. Like, whether it's just not the topic of the show, I mean, I don't know what reason you could give, but for a fairly recent big box set, I never hear it mentioned.
No, it's not really talked about that often because it's kind of a low level release. Susan says singles box is nice, but the CD singles box is better. And I wish I had that. I don't have the CD singles, and I wish I had that one to show, but I don't have that one either. So, I mean, No Christmas records box set. No, sorry. Those are novelty records. Where would I would actually put this B or C.
I think it's got to go probably behind the EPs.
Right, but then there's the question again: is it better or worse than Red and Blue?
Oh, it's not as good as the Red and Blue.
No, it's not. The
right?
red and,
I
the
think
red
it
and
can
blue
go right here.
Yeah, it can go right there. But yes, there you go.
Right, that's kind of fair.
Cool.
We got a very even. We thought we were worried everything would be S tier, but here we go.
No,
Very even out.
What we got left?
Okay,
we got 2 left.
So yes, both super deluxe editions to round us out here for a great show. Thanks for everybody being on here. So going in order of release here, the Abbey Road Super Deluxe edition. I think we all agree kind of the bottom tiering one for the deluxe editions.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, so far, the deluxe editions have all been S tier, but I wonder if this one is going to dip because not only was the remix not that revelatory, but the outtakes had some gems, but again, were kind of minimal.
Yeah. I mean, a great take of Ballad and John and Yoko, take 7, which is that's a great outtake.
I mean, my favorite on here was like there was an extended jam of She's So Heavy.
Yeah, I think that it's got some good stuff on here actually. Just looking at it,
but I remember being kind of underwhelmed.
I think this is still S tier, but
interesting.
It's at the back end. It's not as good as Revolver, so it comes in after Revolver.
Yeah, I would agree with that because it is. I mean, it's Abbey Road after all. I mean,
it is Abbey Road. Great book.
Well, okay. Well, how about this? The 2009 boxes and BC13 has Abbey Road.
Yeah, but it doesn't have the outtakes and stuff, though, does it? The sessions.
No, it doesn't.
I suppose not.
It doesn't have a great hardback book and all that sort of stuff. So
no, it's not. It's not the pack. Those albums are in there, but this full package of a nice, even if it's one of the lower box sets, super deluxe sets that are out there, it's still a box set and it has some value. Not nearly the value of even Revolver, dare I say it. Let alone White Album and Pepper, which are like the top of the top. But because it is a box set and it is comprehensive, although small that it is, I think it could.
My only thing is that I'm trying to like put myself in your shoes because for me, I loved the White Album box set when this came out in 2019. I was into it, but not super into it, right? So think about it. 2017, Sgt. Pepper blows us away. 2018, White Album, even better by some standards, right? And then 2019 comes around and Sgt. Pepper and then Abbey Road is here. And what's our reaction? Like, a
little bit disappointed because Abbey Road is such a fantastic album.
Right. But compare that to 2009 when you were waiting for the postman to come down the block. Yeah,
I know. But I was waiting for the postman to come down the block when Abbey Road was released as well.
I'm okay with dropping it into tier A if we're gonna. I'm okay with that. I am.
But above,
it's got to go right there. Yeah.
Tony, how do you feel about this?
He don't like it.
I'm not happy.
But the staying
no, it's all right. I don't mind.
The staying power of that box set and the extra stuff does not compare to the 3 above it.
It doesn't. But we could still put it in tier S, but put it as the worst one in tier S.
I don't think that's saying as much. I feel better with this. I mean,
what with it?
Think about it. Yeah, I mean, like, what do you listen to this? Like when you reach for this, if you reach for this, what are you listening to it for? It's not the remix. No,
I'd listen to the sessions probably on this one.
Yes.
Right. But I just think that S tier is a special tier, right? Where it's the best of the best of the best. No misses, right? Unless you're counting like, Revolver not having like a Blu-ray as a miss.
There's no misses on Abbey Road. It's just there's not enough on it.
No, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, you would have thought you would have got more outtakes maybe on it, and maybe the remix could have been a little bit more radical. But apart from that, it's great. It's all right.
Either way, I mean, flip of the coin. If you want to poll the audience, tell us where they think it should be.
Okay.
I'm fine with it being in the first slot in A or the last slot in S. That's me. What say the audience?
Yeah.
Well, let's wait for.
I'm all right, Heidi. Don't worry. Oh, Joe's here.
Hello, Joe.
Hey, Joe. The Oh Darling remix was great, and some of the extras. Tier S. Come on, that's my man.
So Joe says Tier S. Nick says Tier S.
I'm Tier S.
I'm Switzerland. Come on, Susan, chime in here. Charlie.
Come on.
Todd.
Susan, Charlie. The extras on Abbey Road is better than the extras on Revolver. Yes, you're right.
Really?
Oh, I don't agree with that.
I don't quite agree with that. Yeah,
because
I mean, I'll move it up there. I'm just saying, like, this A slot for Abbey Road. Well, Susan is the boss. Slot. Susan is the boss. So, and Nick's gotten his way plenty of times today. So, yeah, I mean, we're really splitting hairs whether we're saying top of A or end.
I really think. Listen, for our buddy who's awake at 1:21 in the morning in England, put it in the last slot on.
It's all right.
Okay, well,
democratically though, when we asked the audience, we had Joe and Nick say S and Susan say A. No one else voted.
No.
So right. democratically,
and I was fine with it either. So Tony, you got it.
Right. Okay. One more to go.
Let it be.
What are you trying to rush this, Tony? Come on.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No, I'm just kidding.
Charlie says S. Charlie said S too.
Charlie says S as well. So there you go.
So
it's confirmed.
I wonder if my opinion of this is going to be controversial. Okay. I think that this one
hot take
is
hand.
Really good. Is what?
I said hot take hand.
Hot take hand. Hot take Lynn. Hot take Slate. Hot take hand.
My hot takes are not as hot as Jeff Slate or Owen, but I try. I think this one's really good. I think that when we think of these landmark years where the Beatles are the talk of the town, you have Anthology, and the next one maybe was when Get Back came out. That, like, this one wasn't, all in all for a box set, not incredible. I'll give you that. I think that the Glyn Johns Get Back album in this really brings it up its reputation to me.
Crown jewel of the set is the Glyn Johns mix.
Yes, agreed. We can't let this one, win off the reputation of, Peter Jackson's documentary, right? But I'm just saying it was the excitement. Let It Be was the moment. It was a great time to be a Beatles fan. So I want to definitely put in an S tier. What do you think?
Definitely S tier. Definitely S tier. I thought this was a great box set. I thought the remix of Let It Be was really good. Obviously the Glyn Johns mix, which was supposed to be his 1969 mix, but we understood later that certain tracks were from the 1970 mix.
Yeah.
But you could really, you could really see why when you see that Get Back, the Get Back album, you can see why the Beatles rejected it.
Yeah,
but it's still interesting, but it's very very loose.
I love the version of Two of Us and the Glyn Johns mix. The Two of Us version is so much more understated and chill, and it's a totally different version than the version on Let It Be, which is why I love this version of the Glyn Johns mix, because to me it's the I mean, the outtakes are great, but for me, I always go back to the Glyn Johns mix when I listen to this.
Yeah, I can listen. I probably listen to this box set on vinyl more than any of the others, I think. But yeah, no, I think it's really good. And you got the EP on it,
yes,
which had some other remixes of the Let It Be single, didn't it? And was it I Mean Mine from the night, the 1970s?
I Mean Mine. Mixes. Yeah, I Mean Mine, and then Don't Let Me Down and Let It Be. A new mix of the original single version. Yeah,
and Across the Universe was as well the Glyn Johns 1970 mix of Across the Universe.
I mean, you just pull this sucker out, and you're just like you're set.
Yeah,
you're set. It's a nice package. It's done well. I think it has more. It's definitely got more legs than Abbey Road, for sure. So it's got to slide. It's got to slide to the left of Abbey Road.
Yeah,
in our tier list for sure. Joe, I fought for the Capitol albums. I lost.
So this is our tier list. This is what we have. That was the last one.
So, not totally surprised that the proper albums are in the top tier. We've got
Let It Be's not going to go above Revolver.
I don't think so. It's close.
Yeah,
it is close.
It is close. Yeah,
it's close, but I think because of the revelations we heard in the mixes on Revolver, keep that a little bit where it should be. We've got the 09 boxes, stereo and mono, and BC13 and the EPs in tier A, Red and Blue singles and From Liverpool in tier B, and the little orphan that is the Capitol albums in tier C.
That's Andy chagrin. So kind of the layout that we have here is that we love super deluxe box sets, and then anything that is kind of like comprehensive, nothing extra, but comes at the right time, we love that too. Then B tier, we kind of have like miscellany, just throw all the foreign singles in there, throw the Red and Blue compilations remix. And then C, I guess, it feels a little rude, but yeah, we have the Capitol albums.
I think it's a very fair list. The only gripe, other than the Capitol albums, which I knew that was going to happen, but the Red and Blue, I think, could have maybe worked its way to the end of tier A. But
yeah,
that's it, really. I think it's great. I think it's a great.
I'll put it there.
If it weighs a ton.
I think this is another kind of fair thing, like, something like this, where we put Capitol up, but to the end of B.
No problem here.
What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, look, Capitol albums are your albums. You're the boss on this one.
Well, what I think is interesting, though, Tony, with tier A, you've got you've got box sets, right? Whether they're whether it's an EP or it's remasters that are or a big compilation that got redone that affect generations differently. That's the one unique thing about tier A, whether it's the 09s or the BC13 or the EP or the Red and Blues in 2023. Those are compilations or box sets that mean a lot to different people. So the fact that they're all on one tier, I think, is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the Capitol albums and the Beatles box, the From Liverpool box, kind of stand together because they're incomplete box sets.
Yes.
So the Capitol albums, as we discussed earlier, have got the US Revolver and Yesterday and Today missing from them, and obviously the Beatles box is 124 tracks, so it's got quite a lot of it's probably got about 100 tracks missing, so that neither of those are complete. Whereas everything else that we've got here is a complete item. We've got the singles box set, the EP box set, the BC31, which is the album box set, the remaster, the stereo remasters, the mono masters, and then each of the 5 albums that we've had a remix from. They're complete. They're a remix with outtakes and a book and all the rest of it. So I think that those two at the end there, they kind of stand out.
They do. So
as incomplete box sets.
Incomplete, but I think that we can agree that this probably works for what we've talked it through, and we figured out that look, the tier S is in the order that we think they're the best, and that's because that's what a tier list is. And I think that we've done it. So
yeah, and I'm also pleased that we didn't put anything in C and D because you know we have a freaking Beatles podcast.
No,
we love all of these things.
I see, Joe, we got it up to tier B. Okay, I got it's the little bastard, it's the little engine that could, but we got it there at the end of tier B, so it's there. So
no, I loved hearing your bit about why it's important. You know,
I'd like to draw attention to Mike Walljasper's comment because he's got a tier gag in his comment.
Here is my great show, gentlemen. Top tier. Thank you.
See what he did there. Great stuff.
Thank you. Well, I think that we can sign off for our first ever live episode of Hands Across the Water. Good fun doing this, man.
Well done, everyone.
We did it.
Everyone in the comments for joining us. We've had a great time, haven't we, boys?
We have. The order of the top 5 is debatable. Sure it is. I think, but listen, Tony, myself, and Kyle agreed on that. And maybe Tony thinks Abbey Road should have been a little bit more, but we got it up there. So
let us know your ranking.
Tell you afterwards, put your ranking. You know what we do? There's 12 box sets. Tell us your ranking in the comments afterwards.
Yeah.
And thanks for watching. Susan, Charlie, Mike, Joe Mayo, MVP, Nick Cyrette. I love you anyway. Charlie O'Malley, great comments. Todd, Costa Rica. Planet Vinyl Britannica. He was here too. Dale was here earlier. I think we got
everybody.
I always forget everybody. Eric Schultz, he was here early. Thank you, Eric. Michael F. It's a universal thing just to go with everybody. Fantastic job.
But not Michael Noland.
No, he was out. He was out early, very early. But and James Martinez, which got and Brad Hill and David and Tom, who gave us the right answer as well.
Yes.
And Mrs. Beatley Tone, if you're still awake.
No,
she's not.
She's not.
So
she's not.
For Beatley Tone and for Kyle Hand on the Run, I'm Andy Nichols, and we will see you on the next episode of Hands Across the Water next week.
See you guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night. Sleep well.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.